Hokage give me a face. Dragon Ball, Chapter 1-20. Chapter 1 _ hit by Bulma. It is a big mountain far away from the city. The air is clear, quiet and peaceful. Swish. A space Uzumaki suddenly appeared in the air, and the next second, a figure fell out of Uzumaki. Boom, _ With a loud landing sound, the tranquility of the entire mountain was completely shattered. Countless animals were scared away by the loud sound, and all kinds of birds and beasts scattered in an instant. Ba ba ba. Yizan got up and quickly spit out dust that didn't exist in his mouth. A new plane. Which world is this? Yizan blinked blankly and looked at the sky. He consumed 99.99% of his power when he crossed the plane this time, so that he fell directly from the air, and even lost his power to float. I hope it's an interesting world. It consumes so much power from me. If there is another world with such low martial arts as One Piece, it will be too boring. Yizan patted the dust on his body and looked around. At this moment, in the distance, a car was approaching Yizan at a super-fast speed of 200 kilometers per hour. Yizan subconsciously looked at this crazy racing party. After staying in the world of Hokage and pirates for too long, Yizan suddenly felt a little warm when he saw a car. After all, Yizan had never seen the existence of a car before. Then, be careful, get out of the way. Squeak. The harsh braking sound finally made Yizan wake up from his memory, and he saw that the high-speed car slammed into him heavily even when it was braking. Boom. Yizan was knocked flying. I was knocked flying at this speed. If I let others know, will I still be alive? Yizan fell to the ground with a depressed face, his heart collapsed. Crunch. The door of the car opened, and a very cute little loli jumped out of the car and quickly came to Yizan. Hey, are you okay? Little loli looked at Yizan and asked worriedly. Yizan got up and waved his hand. It's okay, how could I be hit by a car? Loli in front of Ding, his eyes widened instantly. What a beautiful little loli. Yizan looked at the little loli and praised in his heart, this little loli is mine. Well, I just want to prevent my embarrassment from being known. Well, that's it. It's definitely not because this little loli is beautiful enough to have this idea. The train was flying in Yizan's mind, so his eyes were a little dull. It's over, I turned him into an idiot. Little loli said anxiously, not knowing what to do. Xiao Loli's words made Yizan stunned for a moment, and then he prepared his own image for the party. With a very gentle smile on his face, he looked at Xiao Loli and said, I'm just in a daze. You see how handsome I am, how could I be where's the idiot? However, Yizan's words made little loli take a few steps back, looking at Yizan cautiously, don't come here. This time, Yizan was a little speechless. He was obviously a handsome guy who loved flowers and saw them bloom. When did he become a strange slut who could scare little loli? Yizan's reaction made little loli calm down a little, looking at Yizan and said, are you really alright? Do you look at me like someone in trouble? Yizan looked at little loli and bent his arm, see. What is this? Muscle. Yizan's words made little loli go backwards again, what an idiot. Bang. Yizan fell directly to the ground, and he was called an idiot. Little loli looked at Yizan and walked towards the car. Since you have nothing to do, then I will leave. Little loli said that he was about to get in the car. Yizan stood in front of little loli and said to little loli, whose child are you? Don't you know that you are still a little loli and can't drive a motor vehicle? Yizan's words made little loli proudly raise his head and said to Yizan, I am a talented girl boomer. Little loli's words made Yizan really stunned. Bulma. Yizan widened his eyes in shock, his eyes full of disbelief. No, I actually came to the Dragon Ball world. Face fruit, do you want to be so arrogant? What world is not good to wear? Bring me 7 Dragon Balls directly. This is a super high martial plane. Yizan complained in his heart, but he was not afraid at all. Seriously, when he came to the Dragon Ball world, Yizan was still a little excited. He was used to very boring and lazy days, and occasionally fighting in the Gaowu world. It seemed not bad. Of course, the most important thing now is not to complain, but to solve the problem at hand. The little loli in front of her with pink makeup and jade is Bulma, but it doesn't look like the Bulma of the Dragon Balls in Izan's memory, because the Bulma in front of her, or the Bulma in the anime, is even cuter. Seriously, the painting style of Dragon Ball is really not very good, and Boomer is not a very delicate beauty in the style of Dragon Ball, but Izan really can't imagine that this is the Boomer with a poor painting style in the original book. Such a beautiful little loli. Yeah, I'm Bulma, what? You know me. Bulma looked at Izan strangely. Bulma, who has been a gifted girl since childhood, is very confident in her memory. Bulma is absolutely sure that since she can remember things since then, Izan has never been seen. But Izan's tone is obviously that he knows himself. Yes, Izan nodded, and said to Bulma with a mysterious smell, I know you. The mysterious smell revealed the smell of a liar and a sleight of hand, which made Bulma say to Izan, understood, if you know me, just know me. As Bulma said, he actually got into the car directly. Why don't you ask me why I know you? Izan asked speechlessly, looking at this clever and somewhat overdone Boomer. Don't ask, you won't tell the truth anyway. Bulma said directly to Izan, and had already started the car. Get out of the way, I'm leaving. Don't tell me, you are such a beautiful and lovely girl, how can you bear to keep a handsome guy like me in this wilderness? Izan came to Bulma's side with a shy face. In Boomer's annoyed expression, he got into Boomer's car. And Bulma naturally had no choice but to start the car angrily. Chapter 2_Cheeky following. Boom. When. Boom. In the mountains, a small car is driving, but compared with a normal car, this car specially selects the road with poor road conditions to drive. In the car. The bumpy car had no effect on Izan. Bulma in the driver's seat, looking at Izan's appearance, was so angry that Kiba was itchy. There was no way. Under the transformation of Boomer, it is a little better than other positions, but that is also relative, and bumps are naturally indispensable. In addition to the reason of Boomer's young age, in the turbulence, it was already a little unbearable. Bah! Bulma slapped the steering wheel hard, looked at Izan who was swaying leisurely, and said loudly, you, get out of the car. Izan Yuzai said to Bulma, no, your car is still very good. Izan's words made Bulma completely speechless. Do you need to be so thick-skinned? My master has already driven you out of the car, yet you are still here. Izan lowered his head and looked a little embarrassed, but what he said made Bulma fully understand what kind of person Izan was. Izan looked at Bulma said, I'm just thick-skinned, I'm just thick-skinned, I'm just thick-skinned . Izan started to sing while talking, as if he was not ashamed but proud. You are helpless, Bulma said helplessly to Izan. Boomer's words made Izan nodded. Okay, now that you know about this, let's continue driving. Izan's words made Bulma look at Izan angrily, but after thinking of Izan's character, Bulma reluctantly gave up. There was no other way. Izan was so rude. This little boy loli said that he had encountered a rogue, and he couldn't tell what to say. La 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 la. Izan looked at little loli's puffed up appearance, and hummed a little song excitedly. That dazed appearance was almost no one else's. Bulma looked at Izan and said to Izan, if you talk again, I won't drive. Bulma's words made Izan cover his mouth. Seeing this, Tsunere lifted his head and continued driving. However, after a while, Izan's head came close to Bulma's side. Bulma, are you hungry? Not hungry. After hearing Izan's words, Bulma was a little surprised that Izan had transformed and even cared about whether he was hungry or not. Oh, you're not hungry. That Boomer, are you thirsty? Izan continued to ask Boomer. Not thirsty, Boomer replied. It's just that the hunch that Bulma didn't want to feel slowly rose in his heart. And the result, as Boomer expected. Bulma, are you really not hungry or thirsty? Izan's words made Bulma helpless for a while, but she was not ready to continue talking to Yizan. But Yizan has the experience of adding 3 whole worlds to the earth, and all kinds of long-winded jokes are almost random. After a while, Bulma finally couldn't stand Yizan's long-winded words. "Shut up, don't speak, don't move, don't take any action." Bulma roared at Yizan. Yizan also listened to Boomer's words obediently, but there was a strange smile on the corner of his mouth. "Hey, do you really think that I won't bother you anymore?" A weird smile hung on the corner of Yizan's mouth, and then, all kinds of voices were made by various means, so that Bulma finally couldn't bear it anymore. "Enough is enough," Bulma yelled at Yizan. Quote. Yizan looked at Bulma innocently. "What are you doing?" Bulma looked at Yizan warily. The talented girl Boomer was really overwhelmed by Yizan. Quote. Yizan was still silent, his eyes were still so innocent. "You are an innocent ghost," Bulma yelled at Yizan. Yizan was even more innocent. He pouted, and the meaning was very clear. Just now, Bulma did not allow himself to speak and act. Quote. Now it was Bulma's turn to feel helpless. "Who the hell are you? Can you get off the bus?" Bulma said helplessly, looking at Yizan. Quote. Seeing that Yizan still didn't respond, Bulma patted his forehead. "Okay, you can resume your actions and talk." Following Bulma's words, Yizan let out a long breath. "Suffocated me." "You are suffocating to death." Bulma yelled at Yizan. "Tell me, what do you want to get out of the car? Do you want me to get off? It's very simple. Just say no. If you don't say let me get off, how do I know you want me to get off? What if I get off and you don't want me to get off? So, if you want me to get off the car, just say." Yizan said to Bulma. Originally, when ordinary people heard this sentence, they would only find it funny and long-winded, and the rest was nothing. However, Boomer is a talented girl. Although Yizan speaks very fast, her pronunciation is very clear, and Boomer is a genius. After hearing Yizan's words, his head turned rapidly, and he sorted out Yizan's words completely after a while, but Boomer felt very nonsense. Where can someone turn a long-winded sentence into so many sentences? Yes, Boomer listened to it for a long time, and finally came to a conclusion that Yizan is an idiot. Bulma stopped talking and drove like crazy. Bulma has only one idea now, and that is to find Dragon Ball quickly. Yizan looked at the searcher not far from Bulma and said, "Is this thing used to find Dragon Balls?" Yizan's words made Bulma instantly pale in shock and looked at Yizan. "Do you know Dragon Ball?" "Well, I know one thing, there are 7 Dragon Balls in total. They were made by immortals. Once you gather 7 Dragon Balls, you can fulfill one wish," Yi Xuanfang said calmly. But what he said made Bulma's eyes widen in disbelief and looked at Yizan. Chapter 3 Little Monkey Sun Wukong. Although I'm looking for the Dragon Balls, but I don't know if it's true. Listening to your tone, the legend of the Dragon Balls turned out to be true. Bulma looked at Yizan and said, "Then once the Dragon Balls are gathered, no. Have you always made a wish?" "No. After the Dragon Ball is made a wish, it will turn into stone and be scattered all over the world, and it will take a while before it becomes the Dragon Ball again." Yizan's words made Bulma look at Yizan in surprise. "You know so well, have you made a wish?" Boomer shook his head. "No." "Then have you seen someone make a wish?" "Neither." Yizan said to Bulma. "Okay, don't worry about this anymore, since you want to look for the Dragon Balls, go ahead. I also have a certain interest in the Dragon Balls." In fact, Yizan's words were deceiving. Yizan's interest in Dragon Ball is very low, almost none. Although Dragon Ball is very powerful, God Long Yi has the limit of wishing. Judging from Yizan's vision and strength, Shenlong cannot satisfy his wish. Compared with Dragon Ball, Super Saiyan the human bloodline attracted Yizan's interest even more. Yizan's performance was seen by Bulma, and he was very puzzled by Yizan. Bulma originally thought that Yizan was a crazy idiot, but now it seems that this is not the case. Yizan naturally didn't know what Boomer was thinking, because Yizan saw the light spot on Boomer's Dragon Ball instrument. Dragon Ball seems to have appeared. Yizan's words also made Bulma quickly look at the instrument, and soon found the light spot on the instrument. I found it, Bulma said in surprise, straightened up instantly, stepped on the accelerator, and the small car shot out at a speed that was extremely incompatible with his body shape. It's really a little lunatic, Yizan said after glancing at Boomer. In Yizan's emotion, Bulma drove the car quickly and went to the location of Dragon Ball. Bulma, seriously, what wish do you want the Dragon Balls to make? Yizan asked as he approached Boomer. Me, of course I want a Prince Charming, Bulma said expectantly. Ah, Yizan looked at Bulma strangely. You want Prince Charming? Isn't this a very simple thing? As for collecting Dragon Balls so hard. Simple, Bulma yelled at Yizan. Are you really fake? Don't you know that Prince Charming is really rare? It's rare. Is there any? Yizan looked at Bulma and came to Bulma. Look at me, do you have it? Quote. Bulma, a Byakugan, looked at Yizan and said, Are you Prince Charming? Isn't it? Yizan said to Bulma. No, Bulma yelled at Yizan. How can you be Prince Charming? Why am I not Prince Charming? Yizan shook his hair slyly. Look, I'm so handsome, so cool, so awesome, how can I not be Prince Charming? I don't feel it. Bulma gave Yizan a white look and said calmly, that appearance and tone were exactly the same as Yizan. I don't know what happened. When Yizan deliberately said that he was handsome, Bulma suddenly felt that Yizan was really handsome, and his personality seemed a little humorous, kind of funny. Huh, what am I thinking? He is clearly an idiot. Boomer pondered this silently, but Yizan looked at Boomer in a daze. You learn to speak from me. Where did I learn from you? You go your way, I go my way, you say what you say, I say what I say. What does what I say have anything to do with what you say? You can't have anything to do with what you say because of what I say. It does matter, you say that I learn from you. Bulma also followed suit and chatted with Yizan. Yizan looked at Bulma in amazement, and raised the corners of his mouth in amusement. Interesting, you actually learned from me, why? Do you want to be a teacher? Yizan said and came to Bulma. It's not impossible if you want to be a teacher. Come, give me a smile, and I can consider teaching you. Yizan's words made Bulma look elsewhere, not looking at Yizan. Be careful, Yizan suddenly said loudly, pointing to the front of the vehicle. And Bulma suddenly came back to his senses, but he was still driving. Then, Bulma saw a hill in front of him. Ah! With a scream from Boomer, the entire car rolled over instantly. Yizan grabbed Bulma at the last moment, dodged and left the car seat. Well, in fact, Yizan noticed this hill very early, but Yizan, who was obsessive-compulsive, said that he was still ready to show the plot in the original work again. Sure enough. Boom. With the whereabouts of the car, a little monkey was greatly frightened and watched all this in shock. Yizan, on the other hand, was holding Bulma and staying aside. Bulma didn't say anything and didn't react. The first reaction was to look at his murderer. Although Bulma is still young, because of the wealth of the family, the nutrition is usually good, and her figure has grown to a certain size. At this moment, she found that a pair of big evil hands were attached to it. Bastard! Enough is enough! Bulma roared at Yizan, the owner of these big hands. If the hands were someone else, maybe Boomer really thought it was just a coincidence, but Yizan. Although he had only been in contact with him for less than an hour, Boomer believed that Yizan must have done it on purpose. Not enough. Although it is small, it is estimated that there is still room for further development. Yizan's words caused Bulma to knock Yizan's head directly, and when Yizan's hand loosened a little, he quickly escaped from Yizan's side. Okay, if you don't want to, Yizan said casually. When Yizan said this, Bulma had already started a series of exchanges and discussions with the little monkey on 5.7. It didn't take long for the monkey to be sold by Bulma. Okay, Even if you sell it, it will pay for the number of people. Yizan gave the little monkey a white look and came to the little monkey. Hey, monkey, how are you? Yizan's words made the little monkey look at Yizan. Who are you? I'm Yizan. Yizan looked at the little monkey with a smile. Show me face and make friends. Yizan said, reaching out to the little monkey. This is handshake. Idiot. Bulma said to the little monkey. Look at it. Following Bulma's words, Bulma will reach out and shake hands with Yizan, but Yizan is frightened enough. You know, his handshake has a purpose. Chapter 4 Boomer said to take a bath. At the last moment, Yizan finally put away his means and shook hands with Bulma. Huh, I am scared to death. Yizan felt a little relieved in his heart. And Bulma explained to the little monkey all the precautions for shaking hands. After a while, the little monkey looked at Yizan in surprise. Hello, my name is Sun Wukong, let's make friends. Sun Wukong looked at Yizan with a bright smile. And Yizan shook hands with Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong shook hands with Yizan without any precaution. Without Sun Wukong's knowledge, Yizan used chakra to pierce Sun Wukong's hand, held the blood of Sun Wukong in his hand, and got it. The next step is to analyze what the so-called Super Saiyan bloodline is all about. Yizan pondered inwardly. Although he is a 6 paths level powerhouse, in the Dragon Ball world, his strength is just scum. In this case, time passes slowly. 30 hours of rest, Bulma quickly used the capsule to get the house out. Then he looked at Yizan with a smile. What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like this? Yizan looked at Bulma strangely, and asked with a smile. Bulma seduced Yizan with a very immature voice. How about it? Do you want to live in a room like this? Shelter from the wind and rain, and have a comfortable bed? Bulma looked at Yizan with a smile. The temptation in that voice was heard by someone who didn't know, and thought what happened to this little loli. Me, Yizan asked, pointing at himself. Of course it's you. Besides us, who else is here? Bulma said to Yizan in a good voice. That voice and tone were exactly the same as Yizan. Learning so fast. Yizan looked at Bulma with a smile. His words made Bulma a little embarrassed. After all, he was really learning Yizan. Yizan looked at the house behind Bulma, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Ask me if I want to live in it. How's it going? Would you like to live in? Yizan grinned. If I live in, what price will I pay? Boomer was stunned. Hey. You shouldn't say you want to live in, but I refuse you. You don't play cards according to common sense. Yizan shook his head dashingly. This is me, a different firework. Quote. Bulma was a little speechless. Humph. Big villain. I don't care. I won't let you live. 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 Boomer also sang in a strange tone, but that tender voice was extremely pleasant even in a strange tone. Don't let me live there. Yizan said casually to Bulma, I'll build my own house. Build it yourself. Bulma looked at Yizan with a smile. Okay, I'll take a look at your house. Bulma knew very well that Yizan had no space capsules on his body, so naturally there was no place to hide such a behemoth as a house. It's just that Boomer knows that Yizan is not an existence that can be speculated with common sense. Mokuden, wood style. Forge in Cherokee column home art. Following Yizan's words, many wooden strips condensed rapidly, and a small and exquisite house appeared in a short while. Ah! Bulma looked at all this in astonishment and widened his eyes dumbfoundedly. No. What's going on? How can the wooden slats appear in such a place? How can people control the wood? Compared to Bulma, the little scientist who was exploring, Sun Wukong came to the wooden house excitedly and looked at Yizan in surprise. It's so cool. It's so cool. Wow, it's so handsome. Is this house livable? Sun Wukong also came to Yizan in surprise. Yes. Yizan nodded. Go in and have a look. Yizan's words made Sun Wukong nodded excitedly and quickly entered the room. Outside the room, Bulma looked at Yizan with a very strange look. what's going on? How did you get it? Yizan looked at Bulma with a smile, want to know. That tone, that accent, reminded Bulma of the way he treated Yizan just now. What do you want? What conditions do you have? Bulma looked at Yizan and asked warily. Yizan pointed to the house behind Bulma with a smile. It's very simple, I'll live in it. That's it. Bulma looked at Yizan strangely, and didn't believe Yizan's words. Well, that's all, I'm a good guy. You're a good person. Bulma looked at Yizan speechlessly, but didn't say anything more. Okay, go in if you want. But first, you are not allowed to come in. I see, Yizan replied in a perfunctory manner. Soon, night will come. Delicious, delicious. Sun Wukong said to the next to the sea, Zandaje, you have a good food. Sun Wukong's words made Yizan look at Sun Wukong speechlessly. Originally from 520, he made it for Bulma. As a result, Bulma didn't eat much because he was a girl. Instead, Sun Wukong ate almost half of it. Blind all my cooking skills. When Yizan was thinking about this, Bulma was already leaning on Yizan's arms. Hey, will you be responsible for cooking in the future? Yizan was instantly comforted by Bulma's behavior and language. Hey, it seems that my cooking skills are still useful. I'm so full. Sun Wukong, you go to wash the dishes, I'm going to take a bath. Bulma said to Sun Wukong, and went straight into the room lazily. On the other hand, Yizan, after hearing Bulma's words, rolled his eyes and stretched his waist. I'm going to bed, just pack it up and put it in the wooden house. Yizan said, and tiptoed to Bulma's bedroom. Bulma's bedroom has a bathroom, and at this moment, she is just starting to undress herself. Oh! Yizan hid and peeked. He never imagined that Bulma's figure was actually very good. Although he did not develop because of his young age, his body without fat was perfect, and his skin was extremely fair. In the anime, Dragon Ball's rough style, the real Bulma is more playful and cute. I'm going to order this loli. Hey. Chapter 5_bicker. Ah! A scream rang out in the room, and then there was a tinkling clatter. Listen to my explanation. I didn't mean to see it. It's just that your room door is not closed properly. As Yizan spoke, Bulma appeared in front of Yizan wearing a bath towel. Bastard! The devil believes you. Shy Yuhi face, and Yizan leaned in front of Bulma with a shy face. Don't say that, how can you be a ghost? Even a ghost is a beautiful and cute little ghost. This is the peony flower, it is also romantic to die and be a ghost. You are the romantic, and you are the romantic ghost. Bulma yelled at Yizan and closed the door with a bang. Forget it this time, let me see you coming again, be careful I will drive you out directly. Following Bulma's words, the sound of water flowing again in the bathroom. It didn't take long for Yizan to come outside the bathroom, but... What are you doing? Bulma directly opened the bathroom door a crack, and looked at Yizan outside with vigilance. Yizan glanced around and looked away. I just passed by, that's it. Bulma didn't say much, just warned Yizan without any pain, and then closed the door again. Yizan waited for a while, and after seeing that the door did not continue to open, he put his hand on the doorknob again. Just as he was about to make all the movements, the door opened with a bang, and Bulma used a long towel. Wrapped in his body, he appeared in front of Yizan again. You really are still here? Bulma stared at Yizan fiercely. What do you mean I'm here? Yizan said to Bulma. I'm very serious about helping you guard the door to prevent anyone from peeping. Yizan's words made Bulma snort cutely and said to Yizan, why do I think you are a thief? How is that possible? I am very honest. Yizan said very seriously. Yizan's words made Bulma a Byakugan on the side and looked at Yizan. You are upright, there are no dishonest people in this world. Bulma said something, turned to Yizan and said, didn't you always want to go in? Go in and take a shower. Bulma's words made Yizan shake his head quickly. I'm so stupid, I didn't expect her to be Bulma when we first met. and she left the impression of a rogue in her mind, so she should give Bulma a good impression directly. And then do these things secretly. Yizan shook his head slightly, said so, pushed the door, and went in to take a bath over Boomer. Anyway, there is no need to worry about this matter. After all, it is still early, and there is still a long time before Boomer grows up, so don't be in a hurry. The night was spent peacefully under Bulma's defense. In the early morning of the next day, Yizan continued to move towards the distance with Bulma, who was guarding himself, and Sun Wukong, who was cute. Yizan looked at the Dragon Ball radar on the car, yawned greatly, and looked at Bulma. Well done. That's it. Boomer looked at Yizan proudly, and Tsunere's little head was raised high. I'll give you a compliment, and see how your little tail is up to the sky. Yizan's words made Sun Wukong look at his ass and looked at Yizan doubtfully. Tail up to the sky. My tail can be up to the sky. As Sun Wukong said, he flicked the tail behind him, and the agile appearance made people know that Sun Wukong's tail was definitely not fake. You have a tail. Bulma looked at Sun Wukong in disbelief and asked in disbelief. For Bulma, whether it is Yizan's Mokuten, wood style, or Sun Wukong's tail, it is beyond common sense. How can there be such a thing in this world? Yeah, Sun Wukong was very surprised by Bulma. Don't you have a tail? Sun Wukong's words made Bulma look at Yizan. Do you also have a tail? Quote. Yizan looked at Bulma's open mind, and said speechlessly, how can I have a tail? Bulma looked at Yizan and nodded. And at this time, Sun Wukong said to Bulma, Bulma, is the Dragon Ball radar broken? Only then did Bulma and Yizan notice a trace of Dragon Ball on the Dragon Ball radar. Dragon Ball. After taking a look at the Dragon Ball radar excitedly, Bulma began to speed up. It didn't take long for everyone to see the oolong that was very similar to Zubaji. When Bulma saw oolong, he suddenly realized, everyone outside is a pervert. Yes, they are both perverts. One is a monkey, one is a pig, and most importantly, that pig is still very nice. Yizan's words made Bulma give Yizan a blank look. Don't talk about them, you are also among the perverts. A lecherous hooligan. Why am I so horny? Why am I such a hooligan? Do you still have a face? You're the only one who's not lustful. Are you still a hooligan? Well, I'm not lewd and I'm not a hooligan, Yizan said as he looked at Bulma seriously. Boomer waved his hand weakly. Okay, say whatever you want. Yizan shrugged indifferently. Yizan casually looked at the three little brats, including the little pig oolong, and yawned, lazily doing nothing. While Yizan was lying lazily in the car, the three little kids had once again decided to search for the Dragon Balls together. There was no way. From the three little kids' point of view, looking for the Dragon Balls was like playing at home. In this way, the three little kids decided to look for the 7 Dragon Balls, and Yizan in the car shook his head slightly. It's really the behavior and temperament of children. Don't these people think that they will collect the 7 Dragon Balls? Can only one wish come true? Then who is this wish for? Quote. Yizan shook his head, but didn't care about it. After all, there are still certain restrictions on wishing for Dragon Balls, and a certain level of wish is really difficult to achieve. The summoned dragon was fulfilled. Chapter 6_Scared P. Oolong. Yizan flipped over a Byakugan again, looking at Oolong in the car, a little speechless. Yizan really didn't expect that Sun Wukong and Bulma would let this lustful and greedy Oolong come to the car. Although Yizan is very horny and hooligan, Yizan doesn't like satyrs and hooligans, because once someone is a satyr and a hooligan, it means that someone is watching the girls around him, and the girls around Yizan are all the quality is extremely high. Once someone acts as a hooligan, doesn't it mean that they will take action against their sister? Therefore, Yizan disliked the arrival of Oolong very much. While Yizan was preventing everyone from taking action against his sister, time passed slowly. With Bulma's Dragon Ball radar, and soon, the Dragon Balls have basically been collected by everyone. The 6th Dragon Ball. Bulma said to Yizan in surprise. I will be able to collect all 7 Dragon Balls soon. my Prince Charming, here I come. Bulma's words made Yizan yawn loudly and respond casually. Looking at Yizan's reaction, Bulma shouted, what is your reaction? Don't you want my Prince Charming to come over? Yizan replied drowsily, ah. Bulma listened to Yizan's words. I don't know why, but you think the reason why Yizan doesn't want his Prince Charming to come here is because he likes himself. Well, since you like me, I will promise you, Bulma said proudly to Yizan. Although Bulma said so, but still did not give up halfway. The sixth Dragon Ball is said to be in Frying Pan Mountain. Boomer said to the crowd. Oolong said in fear, Frying Pot Mountain. The Bull Demon King there is very powerful. Wulong said in awe. Wulong's words, let Sun Wukong look at Wulong and said, aren't you going to Frying Pot Mountain with us to look for Dragon Balls? I'm not going. Wulong waved his hand and said in fear. No, we want to be together. How can we give up halfway? Sun Wukong said firmly looking at Wulong. Under the circumstance that Wulong's resistance was ineffective, everyone moved towards Frying Pot Mountain. The Bull Demon King. Yizan's mouth cracked into a smile. Compared with the powerful Bull Demon King in Journey to the West, the Bull Demon King in Dragon Ball is a standard figure of a loving father. These are all irrelevant to Yizan. Yizan is the daughter of the Bull Demon King. The appearance of Boomer is not the same as in the anime, mainly because of the style of painting. In contrast, the real Boomer is more beautiful. Judging from Booma's image, Chi-Chi, the daughter of the Bull Demon King, is definitely a little lowly with pink makeup and jade, even more beautiful than Booma. After all, Chi-Chi is the heroine of the standard Dragon Ball and the daughter-in-law of Sun Wukong. However, with me here, Sun Wukong, what kind of daughter-in-law do you want for such a little brat? Chi-Chi is mine. Yizan thought of this, chatting and laughing with everyone, and heading towards Frying Pot Mountain. While the crowd was chatting and laughing, Oolong's eyes twitched, trying to escape halfway, but he had no choice. Compared with Sun Wukong, Oolong's courage was too small. When Oolong was struggling to escape, Yizan quietly took Booma to watch Oolong's escape. Let's play tricks on him. Yizan looked at Oolong with a smile, and whispered to Bulma. Bulma's eyes lit up when he heard the words, how to make fun of him. Pretend to be a ghost, Yizan said with a smile. Boomer nodded quickly. Then, ah! Oolong looked at the ghost in front of him, shouted, rolled his eyes, and fell straight down. Ah! Yizan shook the white cloth in his hand casually, and looked at Booma boringly. It's really not fun, it's not scary. However, Yizan happened to see the different look in Bulma's eyes. Isn't it fun? It's obviously fun, Booma said to Yizan. Quote. Yizan glanced at Booma speechlessly, then came to Oolong's face, and casually transported chakra into Oolong's head, allowing Oolong to slowly wake up. Yizan looked at Bulma's somewhat regretful expression and whispered, come again, scare him. After Yizan said these words, Oolong slowly came to his senses, glanced at Yizan and Bulma, and said in a panic, Bulma, Yizan, there are ghosts. Ghost. A ghost from there. Yizan glanced around and asked Oolong. Just now, a white shadow flashed past. Oolong said seriously to Yizan. That must be your eyesore. Yizan waved his hand and said so. Oolong looked at Yizan and Bulma with the look of you, and finally believed Yizan's words a little. After this commotion, Oolong finally relaxed a little. However, Yizan's next sentence made Oolong's eyes widen instantly. Okay, since it's nothing, let's go back, Bulma, Xiaobai, let's go. Yizan said with a smile, making Bulma react for a while, nodded, and said to the empty tunnel on the side, let's go, Xiaobai. Xiaobai. Oolong scared Kiba into a fight, looked around worriedly, and said to Yizan and Booma, Xiaobai. Where is it? Yizan and Bulma invariably pointed to the open space not far away. Isn't that Xiaobai? Xiaobai. Ghost. Oolong shouted instantly, rolled his eyes again, and fainted. Ah, how dare you be so small. Yizan was really helpless this time. It was really amazing to be frightened and fainted by something that didn't exist. As expected of the person who ran away when he heard the bull demon king of Frying Pot Mountain, he is really brave. Yi-zan said. And when Yi-zan said this, Bulma on one side looked at Oolong, who had fainted, with glowing eyes. It's fun. Yi-zan couldn't help but be a little stunned when he looked at Bulma like this. Could it be that he really made a girl who likes to tease people? The night passed slowly in Oolong's horror. Early in the morning, Boomer watched all this excitedly, and whispered to Yi-zan, "Let's go play ghosts together at night to be scary, okay?" "It's not very good. Sun Wukong is so nervous, he can't be scared at all. Oolong is too intimidating," Yi-zan said with little interest. Chapter 7_ Knock the Head of the Turtle Fairy. Although Yi-zan had no interest or hobbies in frightening Oolong, Bulma was not happy about it. When Bulma kept frightening Oolong, everyone passed through a desert. At night, when Bulma was about to continue to scare Oolong, 2 robots suddenly appeared in the desert. "What is that?" Bulma asked strangely, looking at the 2 shadows not far away. It was the 2 robots. Bulma said. His eyes flashed a curious look, and he quickly walked towards the 2 robots. It didn't take long for Boomer to see the 2 robots in action. "What are they doing?" Boomer looked at the 2 robots strangely, a little puzzled. Bulma followed the robot, and it didn't take long to see the action of the 2 robots, installing a time bomb on Sun Wukong's house. "Who controls you?" Bulma quickly rushed out and shouted at the 2 robots. Bulma's movement caused Yi-zan, who was sleeping in a room not far away, to open his eyes slightly. "Huh?" Yi-zan raised his eyebrows. "Yamcha." When Yi-zan said this, Bulma finally met Yamcha. A few people walked away after a little touch, but Bulma did not continue to pursue, but just looked at Yamcha who was leaving. What happened to them? Why did they come here inexplicably, and then left inexplicably? Bulma asked strangely. When Bulma said this, Yi-zan had already come to Bulma's side and said to Bulma, "I don't understand." "Understand what?" Bulma looked at Yi-zan strangely, not understanding what Yi-zan meant. "You have 5 Dragon Balls in your hand, that is to say, you only need to get the Dragon Balls in your hand, and you only need to search for the remaining 2 Dragon Balls, and then you can achieve your wish." "How easy and trouble-free," Yi-zan confronted Boomer explained. Yi-zan's words made Bulma stunned, her eyes widened, and then she understood what was going on. Are they good or bad? Yi-zan looked at Bulma's reaction and shook his head involuntarily. The emotional intelligence of this female scientist is really worrying. That's all. What about Prince Charming all day long? "Okay, that's it, go to sleep," Yi-zan said to Bulma. Boomer nodded quietly and entered the room. Early in the morning and at night, Yi-zan and Bulma's actions were not noticed by everyone. Go, Sun Wukong exclaimed excitedly. Bulma glanced at Yi-zan, who was still sleepy, and didn't say anything about what happened at night. Sun Wukong and his party continued to set off for Frying Pot Mountain in a car. On the other hand, Yi-zan opened his eyes slightly, squinted, and shook his head slightly when he looked at Yamcha, which was adorned with a distance not far away. In this way, Yamcha quietly followed everyone, except for Yi-zan. The rest of the people did not find it. Is it a tracker? After Yi-zan's perception swept over the car, he found the tracker on the car. What's the matter? Is there anything wrong? Yi-zan's behavior made Bulma ask strangely. It's the 2 people at night, Yi-zan said slowly. Boomer glanced around strangely. Where is it? Tracker. Yi-zan flipped his hand casually and took out the tracker. Bulma quickly took the tracker in Yi-zan's hand, and after fiddling for a while, a strange smile cracked at the corner of his mouth, allowing Yi-zan to catch the birds that were flying in the desert, and tied the tracker to the bird's body. Huh, this is a lot more comfortable, Boomer said with a smile. Let them do good things at night. When Boomer's technique of teasing everyone became more and more superb, everyone finally came to Frying Pot Mountain. Is this the Frying Pan Mountain? Bulma said to Yi-zan. It looks like a lot of fun. It's fun, Oolong shouted at Bulma, It looks like it's fun here. Such a big fire. Well, as time went by, Boomer felt more and more that it was a lot of fun to learn Yizan. The current Bulma is simply similar to Yizan. As for the divine resemblance, it is a little far behind. Yizan is Yizan after all, and his powerful strength makes Yizan's temperament extremely difficult to imitate. In the fear of Oolong, everyone came to the Frying Pot Mountain. After communicating with the Bull Demon King for a while, everyone learned that in order to get the 6th Dragon Ball, the entire Frying Pot Mountain must be extinguished. Going to find the Turtle Immortal? Yizan asked while looking at the Bull Demon King. The Bull Demon King nodded. Well, this matter is not difficult. Find someone to show me the way, and leave the rest to me. Yizan said to the Bull Demon King. Really? That's easy. The Bull Demon King looked at Yizan in amazement and said, I'll find someone to show you the way. Kiki. Following the words of the Bull Demon King, a cute little girl appeared in front of everyone. The woman in pink makeup and jade is extremely cute, and she smiled sweetly and came to the Bull Demon. Chi-Chi, you go with him to find the Turtle Fairy to pick up the banana fan. The Bull Demon said to Chi-Chi. So, in order to put out the fire in the Bull Demon King's castle, Yizan and the Bull Demon King's daughter Chi-Chi came to the Turtle Immortal to borrow a banana fan. Well, it sounds as if the hero went to the NPC to grab a prop in order to save the princess, but in fact, this was just an excuse for Yizan to get Chi-Chi's sister paper. The Island of the Turtle Fairy. You are the Turtle Immortal. Chi-Chi looked at the Turtle Immortal and said cutely. Immortal Turtle came to Chi-Chi's side instantly, and the nosebleed slowly left. Boom. Yizan directly stood in front of Chi-Chi and knocked on Immortal Turtle's head, knocking out a big bag from the grotesque skull. What are you looking at? Yizan looked at Immortal Turtle and blocked Immortal Turtle's line of sight to Chi-Chi. Who are you? What are you doing here? Immortal Turtle looked at Yizan, and said in a good voice but not in an angry voice. Ask you for a plantain fan. Banana fan. No, Turtle Immortal said directly to Yizan. Boom. Have you? No. Boom. Chapter 8_King Pilaf. Bastard. You're turning my face like this. Turtle Immortal looked at Yi Xuandao. Boom. Yizan knocked on Immortal Turtle's head again. You dare to turn your back on me? Do you? Bastard. How dare you knock on the head of your grandfather Guixianren? I'm going to smack you. Turtle Immortal shouted and flew towards Yizan. Yizan, on the other hand, swayed around for a while, and even avoided the attack of Immortal Turtle. This made Immortal Turtle very surprised, and attacked Yizan one after another. But they were all easily dodged by Yizan. There is no way to be strong, but willful. Yizan's strength is much stronger than that of Immortal Turtle's. Bang bang bang. During the battle, Yizan kept tapping on the head of Immortal Turtle. After a few tricks, Immortal Turtle was dodged by Yizan after releasing a trick of the Turtle School Qigong, hit his head again, and finally gave up. Alright, don't fight. The Turtle Immortal shouted. No way, it hurts. Tortoise Immortal's eyes flashed with tears, and said to Yizan, I admit, the banana fan is indeed here with me, but I don't know where I put the banana fan. I need to find it, you wait. Well, look for it slowly, 3 minutes every night, tap it. Yizan said with a smile, and gestured toward the void with his hand. Wait, 3 minutes is too little. Immortal Turtle protested to Yizan. Well, it is indeed a little bit. Yizan looked at Immortal Turtle with a smile and said, then 2 minutes will be fine. With Yizan's words, Immortal Turtle hurriedly said, why is it becoming less and less? Well, 1 minute, I'm grinding, half a minute. Well, start the timer now. Yizan's words made the Turtle Immortal rush into the room and began to look for it. Under Yizan's brain collapse, Immortal Turtle found the banana fan very quickly and gave it to Yizan out of breath. Well, it's not bad. It didn't take more than a minute. Since that's the case, let's go first. Don't worry. After the fire in Frying Pot Mountain is put out, I will naturally return the plantain fan to you. With Yizan's words, Immortal Turtle quickly waved his hand, No, no need to pay it back. The turtle immortal didn't want to be knocked over by Yizan because of a banana fan. Yizan took Chi-Chi slowly towards the frying pot mountain of the Bull Demon King. During this period, he molested Chi-Chi, and brought Chi-Chi to see all kinds of delicious and fun things. Finally, when she was about to enter Frying Pot Mountain, Chi-Chi had a different feeling for Yizan herself. This is the banana fan. Yizan handed the banana fan to the Bull Demon King. Under Yizan's control, the fire in Frying Pot Mountain was quickly contained. During this period, Yizan took advantage of the fire to save the Bull Demon King, leaving a good impression in the Bull Demon King's heart. Then, the rest is relatively simple. The rest just needs to let the Bull Demon know that he is immortal, and that he can make Chi-Chi immortal. Finally, at Chi-Chi's request, the Bull Demon gave Chi-Chi to Yizan, and asked Yizan to take Chi-Chi away from Frying Pot Mountain. Go go go! Booma shouted excitedly in the cab, while Yizan looked at Boomer's excited look, hugged Chi-Chi and said, "Be careful, don't overturn the car." Following Yizan's words, Bulma finally sat quietly in the car and started to drive. Behind the car where Yizan and Bu-Ma Chi-Chi were, a car followed Yizan crookedly. Needless to say, this car is naturally the masterpiece of Oolong and Sun Wukong. When the number of people in the team increased, one car finally could not sit, and two cars were replaced. However, with a sound of flameout, the car of Sun Wukong and others was declared unable to drive again. What happened? Booma angrily came to the car of Sun Wukong and others to check. Run out of gas. Bulma was a little helpless. Can only drag Sun Wukong's car to a city. While refueling, Boomer saw a beautiful rabbit earrings, bought them happily, and put them on. It didn't take long for everyone to discover something that wasn't right. Everyone here seems to be afraid of you. Everyone looked at Boomer. And Bulma also felt very strange. At this moment, two weirdos with bunny ears appeared. Only then did Yizan understand the plot, as if it was some kind of gang. Yizan shook his head. He didn't care too much, they were all little rascals. With Yizan's connivance, these weirdos finally clashed with Sun Wukong and his party. When Sun Wukong and others conflicted with these people, on the other hand, Yamcha looked angrily at the tracker tied to the bird's leg in his hand, and was about to explode with anger. "It's too much," Yamcha shouted. "Keep chasing, I don't believe I can't catch those people," Yamcha shouted. And Sun Wukong and others are getting closer and closer to the 7th Dragon Ball. Sun Wukong and others did not know that Yamcha was still following him far behind. Another point, this is something that even Yizan doesn't know, that is not only Yamcha who wants to snatch the Dragon Ball, but also, Risato. Even Yizan didn't know about these things. After all, Yizan didn't try hard to recall the plot of Dragon Ball. He only knew that at the very beginning, the villains Sun Wukong encountered were all dragon level, funny, but not very strong. Even the most basic, Chi, has not been cultivated, so Yizan did not pay much attention to these things. After all, these people are serious. It is estimated that even Yizan's most basic defenses are difficult to break. 0.6 The reason why Yizan is so coming to the Dragon Ball world early is actually to pick up girls in advance. The girls in Dragon Ball are relatively precocious, whether it is Chi-Chi or Bulma, they need to be cultivated in advance. So, when people are ignorant, everyone relied on the Dragon Ball radar and went to the Chowder's castle. This time, Yizan finally remembered slowly. It seems to be called, what is it called? Forgot. Yizan rolled his eyes and said. Well, compared to the funny, King Pilaf, who was forgotten by Yizan, Yizan actually remembered the assistant sister Ji, Xiao Wu, who was beside the funny, King Pilaf. Still remember my sister's paper clearly. Yizan thought so. Chapter 9 In the castle. When Yizan and the others entered King Pilaf's castle, Chowder sent two of his own men, Axiu and Xiao Wu, to look for Sun Wukong's Dragon Ball. Therefore, the two sides naturally met unexpectedly. Yizan saw Xiao Wu in the robot at a glance. Well, a girl of good quality. For this reason, Yizan didn't take action against Xiao Wu, but just pulled Qiqi and Bulma to stand in the back. Boom! The attack of the huge machine forced Sun Wukong to retreat temporarily, while Xiao Wu and Aishu took the opportunity to take all the 6 Dragon Balls away. Yizan watched the two leave, and did not continue to pursue, and directly dispatched a shadow clone to take away the Dragon Ball in the Risato. Get it done. After a while, Yizan got the Dragon Ball of the mixed rice. Let's go after him, Bulma said to Yizan. No hurry. Yizan threw the Dragon Ball in his hand and slowly raised the corner of his mouth. When did you still have a 30 Dragon Ball? You also have a Dragon Ball. Qiqi Bulma looked at Yizan in shock even with Sun Wukong. Do you think it's possible? Yizan's words made Bulma shake his head. No, if you really have Dragon Balls, you must have collected Dragon Balls before. Yizan nodded. Yes, so I just got this Dragon Ball. Just got it. Then everyone saw that the Dragon Ball in Yizan's hand was not any of the 7 Dragon Balls before him. Yizan explained to Qiqi and Bulma. It's very simple, why do people here want to snatch 7 Dragon Balls? The reason is very simple, because they also have 7 Dragon Balls. Yizan stretched his waist and said, it's okay, it's much easier now, just wait for them to come to us. Let's go to sleep first, if you have anything, wait until tomorrow. Yizan said, and left with Bulma and Qiqi. Sun Wukong and Wulong thought about it for a while, and it was the same reason, so they left with Yizan. Of course, the more important reason was because Sun Wukong didn't learn Turtle Qigong from Turtle Immortal. That is to say, the current Sun Wukong has no somersault clouds without the Turtle School Qigong, or even a state where there is no Qi, the strength is actually not very strong. Therefore, he could only leave with Yizan. However, no one noticed the mark left on the wall when Yizan left, a mark of Hiraishin. Night. Thief Yizan slipped out of the house. The art of Hiraishin. Yizan's figure flashed and disappeared directly in place. When he appeared again, he had already arrived at the Chowder Castle that he had been to during the day. I don't know where Xiao Wu's sister is. Yizan said with a strange smile on the corner of his mouth. No way, Qiqi and Bumami are beautiful, but after all, they are little lowly, they haven't grown up. Yizan is not good at starting, and can only live dryly. And now, Yizan has finally found a beautiful mature woman like Xiao Wu, so naturally he can do some shy things. Stealth. Yizan's figure dissipated directly in the air, and then, Yizan began to quickly search for various places around him. Yizan's speed was extremely fast, and the Chowder's castle was really not that big. It didn't take long for Yizan to sneak out of a room. This is it, Xiao Wu. Yizan nodded and looked at the wall in front of him. The wall gives me face, let me go over. Then, Yizan saw the wall in front of him separated, and Yizan walked in. Wall, give me face and restore it to its original state. Yizan smiled and watched the entire wall fully recover, and a smile cracked at the corner of his mouth. After Yizan entered the room, Yi Xuanjing's eyes widened in surprise. Because in the room, Xiao Wu was about to take a shower, and she just took off her clothes. Still familiar with the same recipe and familiar taste. It's just that this time Yizan didn't need to make excuses like watching Boomer take a bath. He used a stealth technique and quietly came out of the bathroom. How can I get in? Yizan looked at the door, a little confused, and after a while, he quietly came to the door. I hope my subtle chakra manipulation ability hasn't diminished, Yizan said, quietly intruding his chakra into the lock cylinder of the door. Squeak. At the moment when the lock cylinder was broken, Xiao Wu just turned on the faucet, and the sound of water clattered in the bathroom. Huh, how did the door open? Xiao Wu looked at the door strangely. After seeing no one, she thought she had not closed it properly, so she closed the door again without warning, while Yizan had long ago taken the opportunity to slip in. I'm so excited. Yizan's heart was beating wildly, Don't feel that Yizan 143 is very strong. It's easier to do these things. In fact, it's just the opposite. If Yizan came to do this when Chunanjanan was, it wouldn't be difficult, but now, Yizan's strength is strong, and all kinds of moves come with some lethal power. If you want to quietly enter the village and shoot, it is really difficult, quite difficult. But fortunately, I finally came in. Yizan felt nervous and exciting, as if stealing sister paper. Thief Yizan's eyes widened. Xiao Wu, who was in the same room, didn't look any different. The hot water was turned on, and a layer of mist rose up in a short while. Yizan hid aside. His blood was boiling. That skin, that water snake waste, that little butt, although not as good as his own wives, but it was better than nothing. After all, it was just a trick in the Dragon Ball. Hum. Xiao Wu didn't know what Yizan was thinking about her. While humming a song, she rubbed soap on her body. Because of the Dragon Ball business, Xiao Wu is still quite tired after a busy day. Wu is just a technician. Although she is not as good as lowly girl's Buma, she is a technician after all and doesn't know how to use force at all. The previous events still made Xiao Wu very tired. After taking a bath, Xiao Wu felt very comfortable. Chapter 10 Even a dragon can bully you. Although Xiao Wu's beauty is still far from the top women around Yizan, she is still in good shape, which makes Yizan, who has never done bad things, feel great in her heart. However, under the great fun, there is still some unpleasantness. After all, only eye addiction can be done. Yizan pondered for a while, and finally decided on a very serious matter, and it was a pleasure to help others. Xiao Wu, let me help you wash your body. Yizan thought badly. Please don't thank me, it's my job as a Yuhi scarf to help others, please call me Lei Feng. Yizan moved his body slowly, quietly came behind Xiao Wu, raised his paws to touch Xiao Wu. The soft feeling immediately came from his hand, and it felt great. Well, it's comfortable. Yizan narrowed his eyes and enjoyed it. Although it doesn't feel as good as Tsunade's, but as a dragon, this woman is not bad. Yizan said. The other hand continued to attack Xiao Wu's ass. Well, I've come here, I still have to feel it. I can't let such a good opportunity pass by, or I'll be punished by heaven. Yizan thought extremely seriously, but his expression was extremely evil. Although Yizan was invisible, it was his own actions after all. The moment Yizan's wicked wolf paw touched Xiao Wu immediately sensed something was wrong. Those hands that could make her feel clearly. Touch on your own body. But Xiao Wu widened her eyes and looked in front of her. There was nothing. Don't say anything in front of you, there is nothing even around you. Isn't it nothing but... There's a ghost. A scream came from Xiao Wu's mouth. Accompanied by the screams, Xiao Wu unleashed the girl's unique evasion technique, harassment. Xiao Wu's hands and feet were waving around like crazy, and she said all kinds of strange words. It is the so-called random punch to kill the old master. Xiao Wu's actions actually exerted extraordinary power in the narrow bathroom indoor. After all, Yizan was really embarrassed to shoot at Xiao Wu. Bang! With a steady kick, he directly kicked Yizan's body. Yizan was so powerful that he was invincible. Although he didn't have the power of a Super Saiyan to destroy the planet at every turn, he was still very powerful compared to Xiao Wu. Yizan looked at Xiao Wu's approaching feet and forcibly retracted his body-protecting moves. When Yizan was able to withdraw his rebounding move. Boom! Yizan's body was like a wall. He bounced Xiao Wu and fell to the ground. The fat-free figure was displayed in front of Yizan, and Yizan stood up instantly. Really? Such a good girl, can't you be gentle? What if you kick yourself and hurt yourself? Even if you don't hurt yourself, kicking the flowers and plants is not good. Yizan Lianxiang Xiu, or Yizan himself was embarrassed. After all, Yizan himself came here secretly. Now that he is standing up, Yizan is not ready to stop, just when he is about to do something out of the ordinary. Xiao Wu, what happened? At this time, Mixed Rice and A Shu, who were awakened by Xiao Wu's noise, came to Xiao Wu's door and asked. I wipe. Yizan was a Byakugan. I forgot the most important thing and didn't give the enchantment. Yes, Yizan started doing these things without setting up the barrier. So, the two people who heard the movement had already come to the door of Xiao Wu's room. When Yizan noticed the movements of the two, Yizan felt unhappy. What are these two guys doing here when they have nothing to do? Destroying the good deeds of this uncle, it's really disappointing. Yizan didn't even think about it. It wasn't because he sneaked over and carelessly forgot to set up the barrier, and that was why these things happened. However, Yizan still needs to leave when he is unhappy. After all, Yizan does not want to show his strength at this time, and pretending to eat tigers is the most fun. When Yizan was about to leave, Xiao Wu was already dressed and ran out with a face full of panic. Behind Yizan, there is no need to say more about what Xiao Wu and the two explained. And Yizan has used the technique of Hiraishin again to return to the place where Bulma is. However, Yizan, who was still hot-blooded, did not have the slightest drowsiness, and looked at Bulma's room with random eyes. Go and take a look. Yizan said. I just want to see if Bulma sleeps with the quilt covered. Thinking of this, Yizan laughed wickedly. The light flashed away, Yizan's figure disappeared instantly, and when he reappeared, he was already in Bulma's room. In Bulma's room, there was a faint fragrance, which made Yizan sniff, smiled, patted the non-existent soil on his body, and walked towards Bulma who was laying the edge. The sleeping Bulma is extremely quiet, her delicate appearance is very cute, and the girl's breath makes her even more cute. Half of her calf is exposed outside, and she can see it inside and out. White strawberry. Yizan grinned, gently lifted the quilt, and got onto Bulma's bunk without Bulma noticing. He carefully hugged Bulma's body, and put the girl in his arms. The feeling is just different. That softness and comfort made Yizan enjoy it very much, and after enjoying it, he actually fell asleep like this. Maybe Boomer was really tired, but he didn't realize that Yizan was lying beside him. Early the next morning, a scream resounded through the clouds. Yizan felt that his eardrum was about to be pierced, rubbed his eyes, and slowly opened his eyes. What's the matter? What's the noise? Yizan yawned, ready to roll over and continue to sleep with his head covered. Quote. Looking at Yizan who was so calm, Bulma was stunned. Looking at Yizan who was really sleeping with her head covered, her pretty face was slightly yuhi, and she suddenly jumped up and pulled Yizan's cheek fiercely. Bad bastard! Why are you here? Wake me up! Bulma yelled, and kept stepping on Yizan's body with her little feet. She kept shouting in her mouth, looking very angry. Chapter 11_bullying repeatedly. Bulma was making trouble on Yizan, but he didn't realize that Yizan had already opened his eyes, watching the white legs intertwined in front of him, and the hollow was about to flow out. I saw Xiao Nei, Yizan said with wide eyes. Hearing this, Bulma quickly got into the bed, and then felt that something was wrong. Yizan was still under the bed. Bulma went out in a hurry, and quickly took the clothes to cover his body. Although Bulma's jade arm pink fist looks like a massage to Yizan, but after such a fuss, Yizan lost his sleepiness, yawned greatly, and got up. Seeing Yizan getting up, Bulma's eyes were burning like fire, and he asked angrily, how could you bastard appear in my room and sleep on my bunk? Saying that, Bulma kept touching his body, looking to see if there were any plum blossoms on the floor, worried that he might have been done something inappropriate for children by this guy, Yizan. Yizan grinned and pretended to say, I don't know why it appeared on your bunk, I remember that I slept in my room last night. Could it be that you really caused something unclean by pretending to be a ghost? Something that brought me to your bunk. In order to match his words, Yizan also made a surprised expression, as if he really encountered those unclean things. Bah! Bo Maffei kicked Yizan directly, kicking him off the bunk. How dare you believe your words? If it was before, Bulma might have believed in Yizan's trick, but now he is, and he doesn't believe it when he kills her. It's all because of this guy. It's not cute. Yizan, who was on the ground, yawned loudly and said, "It's not easy to cheat after I learned to play ghosts with me." Yizan didn't expect why Bulma suddenly became so powerful and could kick him off the bunk. This girl's anger is really not small. Of course, the most important reason is because Yizan suppressed himself. The strength of her, after all, if such a tender girl does something accidentally, it will be bad. I'm angry. Bulma stared at Yizan indignantly. Oh, if you're hungry, you're hungry, if you're greedy, you're greedy. If you want me to cook for you, just tell me. Yizan got up slowly, opened the door and slipped out. Anyway, he took advantage of it, so let's just cook. Do you still need a group of children to cook for him? Yizan didn't need to say much about cooking, but in Bulma's room, Bulma hugged her legs, her face was Yuhi moist, and the angry expression just disappeared without knowing it, replaced by a shy Yuhi. How could this be? I slept with that man all night, my god. Bulma felt shy for a while, but in the shyness there was a hint of joy, her face was full of Yuhi, and her heart was disturbed. Emerges. By the time Bulma smelled the aroma of the food and Yuhi walked out of the room, Yizan had already prepared a hearty breakfast. Bulma, you're out, wash up and get ready to eat. Yizan smiled and said to Bulma, but Bulma ignored Yizan and sat down at the dining table angrily. Seeing Bulma's performance, Yizan smiled lightly. Okay, don't be petty, little dirty cat. You're the little dirty cat. Bulma shouted at Yi Xuanzhao, but in action she obeyed Yizan's instructions and went to wash up obediently. After eating and drinking, Yizan took out a yellow bead and played with it in his hand, attracting everyone's attention. Yizan looked at everyone's unblinking gaze, a playful smile cracked at the corner of his mouth, and said, Bulma, Chi-Chi, do you want it? Kiki shook her head. No more. I want. Yizan's eyes narrowed, and the evil expression was simple. Well, please forgive Loli's attraction to Yizan. Want it? Yizan looked at Bulma, smiled and said, if you want, kiss me and I'll give it to you. HMPH, think beautifully. Bulma directly rejected the request. However, as Yizan played with the Dragon Ball in his hand, Bulma watched intently. After a while, Bulma couldn't help feeling like a kitten tickling in her heart, and said to Yizan, are you serious? After I kiss you, I have to give me the Dragon Ball. Well, of course, how could I lie to you? Yizan said with a serious face, with an upright expression on his face. If he didn't know, he would definitely think that Yizan was an extremely upright person Kun child. Looking at Yizan's upright expression, Bulma finally believed Yizan's words. He stood on tiptoe slightly, leaned on Yizan's face, pouted, tapped on Yizan's cheek, and then quickly take it back. The first time I kissed a boy, it was Yizan, a man with different feelings in Bulma's heart. Bulma's heart was also nervous and didn't want it. After Tanbo gave him a kiss like water, Bulma returned to her seat. I also felt that my heart was pounding and throbbing non-stop. She patted her little heart with one hand, and the other hand was already facing Yizan, and said to Yizan, can you give it to me now? Of course you can. Yizan smiled slightly, looking at Bulma's little white hands, seeing the shyness that Bulma couldn't bear, and gave up to continue molesting. Here, Yizan directly gave the Dragon Ball in his hand to Bulma. I'll give it to you, be careful not to be snatched by the Risato. Bulma is not an idiot. Although he was fooled by Yizan, after all, Yizan is an old monster who has lived in 3 worlds and is dressed as a young boy. It is normal to be fooled. At least Bulma can react after being fooled. There are a lot of people who have been fooled by Yizan for a long time and have not responded. What? Immediately, Bulma felt cheated. Yes, my own Dragon Ball is going to be used to attract mixed rice. Even if I get it myself, wouldn't I want to follow Yizan? I can't protect this Dragon Ball myself. This result was too hard for Bulma to accept. Bastard, you're playing with me again. Bulma, who was about to go berserk, picked up the plate next to him angrily and was about to fight Yizan, who told this guy to bully himself over and over again. Right at this time. Drip. One of the Dragon Ball radars that Bulma carried with him suddenly rang. Chapter 12 Dragon Ball Wishing. This is. Bulma stared blankly at the Dragon Ball radar in his hand, with a look of surprise in his eyes. Under Bulma's dull gaze, Yizan's head stretched out directly. Sure enough, the chowder couldn't help it, and came here with 6 Dragon Balls. It's really funny and confident. Yizan really felt that the behavior of the chowder bringing 6 Dragon Balls was funny. You can compare. You said that you brought 6 Dragon Balls, plus Bulma, and you have collected all 7 Dragon Balls, but you must know that Bulma is not alone. Besides, the person who can collect all 6 Dragon Balls, will be simple, in case the chance to make a wish is taken away, no joke. It's better to put 6 Dragon Balls in your base and snatch the remaining Dragon Ball. Of course, this is not the case for Chowder. In the eyes of Chowder, 6 Dragon Balls are extremely precious, and it is not safe to put them anywhere. It is safest to take them with you. Therefore, this scene has appeared. Wow, 6 Dragon Balls. Sun Wukong didn't know when he got in front of Dragon Ball radar and said so while looking at Dragon Ball radar. Pack up and prepare to make a wish. Yizan was also curious about the wish of the Dragon Balls. Not long after, Chowder brought Xiaowu and Aishu to Yizan and the others. Wow, Dragon Ball, my dream of unifying the world can finally come true. Chowder looked at the Dragon Ball in Bulma's hand, and said in surprise. After seeing the Chowder put his eyes on the 7 Dragon Balls in his hand, Bulma hid behind Yizan with some worry. Give him the 7 Dragon Balls. Yizan's words made everyone look at Yizan in surprise. Bulma also looked at Yizan blankly. It's nothing, leave it to him. Yi Xuanfang said calmly. Although Bulma didn't know why Yizan said this, he still threw the Dragon Ball in his hand to the Chowder. Chowder hurriedly caught the Dragon Ball. After the Chowder let out a sigh of relief, he looked at the 7 Dragon Balls in his hand in ecstasy. Quick, help me to rule the world, Chowder said to Dragon Ball. Hey! Yizan sneered. It hasn't been activated yet, funny. Yizan said, looking around. Give me a face, don't talk. Following Yizan's words, everyone was shocked to find that they could no longer speak. It was only at this time that Bulma knew why Yizan wanted to give the 7 Dragon Balls to the mixed rice. Bulma's heart was full of mixed feelings, and Bulma felt that Yizan seemed to be deceiving herself, which made Bulma very sad. Yizan ignored the resistance of the mixed rice, and placed the 7 Dragon Balls on the ground. The 7 dazzling Dragon Balls, put together, filled everyone's heart with excitement, but when they thought that this was just a wedding dress for Yizan, their hearts were infinitely unhappy. It was also the first time that Yizan saw the collected Dragon Balls, and some small stars flickered in his eyes. Would you like to make a wish first? I want 100 beauties, no, 1,000. Yizan thought to himself, but after seeing Xiaowu, he suppressed the thought in his heart. After all, it is estimated that the beauties that Shenlong gave him were Xiaowu level, right? Forget it, let's give it to Bulma. Yizan felt a little unhappy in his heart. After all, Bulma's wish was for a Prince Charming. Bulma, make a wish. Following Yizan's words, Bulma was finally able to speak. And Bulma saw Yizan's strange expression because of his impure thoughts. Although he was very happy about Yizan making his wish, he still said with a vicious tongue, "What were you talking about just now? Damn, you look so rascal, are you thinking of other women?" Now Bulma knows Yizan well and knows what Yizan is thinking, but even Bulma didn't realize it. Before, he didn't like Yizan thinking about some shy things he did with himself, but now, it has become I don't want Yizan to think about other women. Yizan snorted and said, "Okay, Bulma, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and recite the spell, then you can make a wish." When it comes to making a wish, Bulma also came to the spirit, worked hard, and finally collected 7 Dragon Balls for this moment. My Prince Charming, I'm here. Bulma happily ran to the front, stood beside the 7 Dragon Balls, looked at Yizan and said, "What is the spell?" "I like you." Yizan said as he ran the train with his mouth full. And pure Boomer is. Cross your hands, put them on your chest, and start chanting a spell in your mouth. I love you. Well, I see, I like you too. Yizan's words made Bulma know that Yizan was playing tricks on him, and looked at Yizan angrily. Yizan then waved his hand. Okay, the spell is to come out, Shenlong. Boomer dubiously thought of the spell. Boom. While Bulma was in doubt, there was a loud noise where the Dragon Balls were placed, and then, a white light emanated from the 7 Dragon Balls, instantly illuminating the entire space. Along with the white light, a violent lightning flashed from the direction of the 7 Dragon Balls, flying high into the sky, and rushing directly to the sky. The scene was spectacular. Such a big movement caused the birds and beasts around them to run around in fright, and Bulma even ran to Yizan's side in fright. Even Yizan couldn't help but admire it. It is indeed a super high martial plane that can explode stars with one punch. The power of Dragon Ball's appearance can already be compared with some low-level ninjutsu. Looking at himself, he really can't underestimate it. The guy who created Dragon Ball should also be a good guy. I don't know how he compares with himself. Shouldn't be able to beat it. Yizan's attention was focused on the abnormality that the Dragon Ball was activated. He didn't notice other parts of the forest. There were a few figures, and they hurried over here. Master Yamcha, there seems to be danger there. Do we still have to move forward? A cat-like thing squatted on Yamcha's shoulder and said to him. Of course I'm going. That must be the phenomenon that the 7 Dragon Balls have been collected. Yamcha's figure, speeding up in the jungle, will soon arrive at the place where the Dragon Balls wished. At this time, in the open space, after the light and lightning ended, a huge dragon appeared in midair, and its cyan body was wrapped in a pattern, which was very majestic. That head, that figure, that temperament, it's so pretentious. Yizan thought with dismay that he was very unhappy about Shenlong's big appearance, and his limelight was taken away, although he didn't show any limelight. Chapter 13_Goku transformed. Really forced. Yizan thought angrily. Naturally, Shenlong didn't know Yizan's thoughts. Shenlong slowly opened his eyes, and in an instant, it was like a god descended from the earth, giving people a pressure and making Bulma and others breathless. However, this pressure disappeared in a flash, as if it had never appeared before. Looking at the crowd, they slowly said, after many years, someone finally summoned me. Tell me, what is your wish? Seeing Shenlong for the first time, Bulma was so excited that her body trembled a little. Just as she was about to say something, she suddenly heard a few rustling sounds from behind her. Yamcha, who arrived anxiously, was about to speak after hearing Shenlong's words. Yizan had already arrived at Yamcha's side with lightning speed, and in his eyes, Yuhi's Sharingan had appeared. In an instant, Yamcha was pulled into demonic illusion without speaking. Well, the speed of Sharingan's release of demonic illusion is not bad. Yizan gave himself a compliment and said. After doing all this, Yizan once again put his eyes on Boomer. Let's start. Yizan's words also made Shenlong, who had been out for a while, nodded, and said in a rolling voice like thunder, You have summoned me, now make a wish now, or I will disappear. Bulma, who had already prepared her wish, suppressed her excitement and said to Shenlong, I want. Originally, Bulma wanted to say that he wanted a Prince Charming, but he didn't know what was going on. When the words came to his lips, Yizan's lustful expression suddenly appeared in his mind, and he said in a ghostly way, I want to become more beautiful. Quote. As you wish, Shenlong said. But Bulma yelled quickly, No, I don't want this wish anymore. It's too late, Shenlong said. With a sound of, Om. Shenlong's whole body emitted a burst of light, and then a little aurora condensed on his forehead. Afterwards, Bulma's whole body began to change rapidly, and Bulma, who was originally very beautiful, became even more beautiful after the beauty of Shenlong. Boomer looked at all this blankly. My Prince Charming is gone. Yizan couldn't help but want to laugh when he saw Bulma's appearance. However, looking at Sun Wukong, who had no greed in his eyes, Yi Zhan also admired it a little. After all, there are not many people who really have no emotions. Yi Zhan was a little curious, looked at Sun Wukong next to him and said, "Little monkey, what is your wish? Tell me what it is." Sun Wukong glanced at Yi Zhan next to him, thought for a while, and then said, "I want a lot of food, very delicious food, and then eat food with Grandpa to watch the moon." What kind of mess? Taste, taste. It should be eating, drinking, enjoying the moon and flirting with sister paper. Yi Zhan glanced at Sun Wukong with contempt, and didn't think there was any problem with his taste. But suddenly, Yi Zhan seemed to remember something. Moon. I fork. Yi Zhan suddenly felt a pain in his throat, looked up at the night sky, and saw the bright moon, like a plate, just hanging in the night sky. No way, this guy, is he going to transform? Yi Zhan is familiar with the plot of the Dragon Ball, but Sun Wukong will become a gorilla when he sees the full moon. It's really a dog. Yi Zhan looked at Buma and Shenlong, and said secretly, "Monkey King, Sun Wukong, you must not spoil the mood at this time." Labor and management finally took the heart of Buma's sister paper. It makes your heart flutter, so don't spoil the good things. As the saying goes, what to be afraid of? After the wish was over, the light on the dragon floating in the air became weaker and weaker, and finally slowly dissipated. The dragon said in a low voice, "The wish has come true, I wish you good luck." After speaking, the huge dragon dissipated directly in midair, turned into 7 rays of light, and flew towards all directions at a rapid speed. The art of shadow clone. Yi Zhan's shadow clone, who had been prepared for a long time, chased after the dragon balls scattered in all directions. At this time, Sun Wukong also stared blankly at all this. "My grandfather's relic, I lost it." Sun Wukong looked at Yi Zhan, and for some unknown reason, a violent emotion surged up in his heart. "It's all your fault, it's all your fault." Sun Wukong didn't know that his eyes had become very dark, as if he wanted to eat people, and even a little Yuhi light flickered. "I'm Su." Yi Zhan clenched his fists directly. "Look at my refreshing fist." Bang, bang, bang. Without a word, Yi Zhan raised the fist in his hand, facing Wukong's head, and slammed it down, punch after punch, hit Wukong with a big bag, and finally kicked Wukong flying. Yi Zhan finally let out a sigh of relief. It should be all right now, right? It's obviously a good chance to do something. It's romantic, sentimental, and... Yi Zhan's words were interrupted before he could finish speaking. Wukong, who was kicked and flew to the ground, happened to be lying with his feet up in the sky. His eyes were full of small stars, and he happened to see the moon in the sky. Puff, puff. Sun Wukong's heart was beating violently, as if he was about to break out of his body, one after another. Chi-chi. Suddenly, Sun Wukong's body underwent a huge change. His body began to swell, his clothes were torn, and a hideous kiba began to appear on the corner of his mouth. And at this time, the sober Buma happened to see this scene and was startled, looked at Yi Zhan and said, "What's wrong with this guy?" Seeing the appearance of Sun Wukong, Yi Zhan didn't have to guess, he knew what was going on. It seemed that he and Bulma would have to wait for a while. Sun Wukong is about to transform himself. Bang, bang. With the rapid expansion of Sun Wukong's body began to grow vigorous hair, and in the blink of an eye, he turned into a huge orangutan. Under the moonlight, Goku became the size of a house with several floors. Not only did his body turn into a huge orangutan, but his eyes also flickered with the tyrannical Yuhi light. The tyrannical breath really lived up to the name of the Super Saiyan of the universe fighting nation. Head. Chapter 14 _ Gorillas are still strong. Dong dong dong. Monkey King, who turned into an orangutan, clenched his fists with both hands, kept pounding in his heart, made a muffled sound, roared into the sky, and a powerful momentum burst out. And most troublesome thing is that he will lose his mind. I saw Monkey King Kai Yuhi's eyes flashing with anger, and with a few random movements, everything around him was destroyed. It didn't take long for Sun Wukong to see Yi Zhan, Bulma, Yamcha and Chowder on the ground. It's really bad. Yizan looked at Bulma's terrified eyes, and looked at Sun Wukong with some helplessness. I have been pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger, but I didn't expect to catch a tiger, but I waited for you, a funny monkey, and said that the monkey will invite a funny monkey. Are you the funny guy invited by the monkey to occupy the monkey's body? Yizan said with a wide-open mind, not at all worried about Sun Wukong's fist that was like the top of Mount Hai. Huh. At the moment when Sun Wukong's fist smashed down, the ground under everyone's feet seemed to come alive, and it circulated rapidly, directly transferring everyone including Chi-Chi, Bulma, Yamcha, and even the mixed rice. Although it is said that Yamcha and Chowder don't have good intentions towards themselves and others, but after all, the two of them have contributed to Dragon Balls, so if you can save them, save them. However, Yizan himself did not make any movement, and Sun Wukong's fist directly hit Yizan heavily. Boom! With a loud noise, Sun Wukong directly smashed the ground into a huge pit. Brother Zan! Bulma shouted like a cuckoo weeping blood. At this moment, Bulma knew what his previous reactions were for. He fell in love with Yizan. And Chi-Chi is also a pear blossom with rain. After all, Yizan has communicated with the Bull Demon King before, and the Bull Demon King has basically agreed to Yizan and Chi-Chi's affairs. Chi-Chi's heart has long regarded herself as Yizan's woman. Now in this situation, Chi-Chi naturally comes from her heart. You cry like this, I'm very anxious. Yizan said in his own humble voice that made people want to beat him. And Yizan's words made both Bulma and Chi-Chi raise their heads in surprise. This time, the two finally saw the scene in front of them, and the scene in front of them made the two women open their mouths in a daze, almost unable to believe their eyes. I saw that in the deep pit hammered by Sun Wukong's huge fist before. Yizan stood quietly, and one hand turned out to hold up the double fist of Sun Wukong attacking the ground. In this case, Sun Wukong saw that the attack was not effective. He shouted, and began to use both hands and feet, and kept attacking Yizan, causing great trouble to Yizan. After all, such a huge battle, the aftermath of the battle was also huge, and now Bulma and Kiki are still ordinary people. The art of shadow clone. Yizan quickly separated out several shadow clones, leaving one of the shadow clone behind to temporarily resist Sun Wukong, while the rest of the shadow clone took everyone away from the battle range. As for the main body, of course, he was holding Chi-Chi and Bulma. After leaving, it is his own woman, even if it is shadow clone, Yizan said it will not work. The Chowder and the others next to them saw the previous scene. How dare they stop there? Although being caught by Yizan's shadow clone was extremely uncomfortable and unpleasant, but still did not resist, obediently let Yizan seem to be carrying something, carried back and retreated. Compared with the tractor-like treatment of Yamcha and Chowder, Bulma and Kiki are as comfortable and fast as the most luxurious special planes. Between Yizan's several takeoffs, Chi-Chi and Bulma landed on the ground smoothly and quickly. Putting down Bulma and Chi-Chi, Yizan said, "You wait here, I'll let him know that it's not good to get angry. Children play with fire and will pee at night." Yizan said that he was about to rush out, but Bulma stopped him and said shyly, You have to be careful yourself." "Well, why not? Will you give me a talisman?" Yizan said, pointing to his own mouth and looking at Bulma's lips. I have to say that Bulma's wish made Bulma more beautiful, and she has a tendency to develop in the direction of the goblin. "Don't," said Bulma, and leaned into Yizan's face with a face full of yuhi, and kissed Yizan. Well, Bulma said no, but his body is still very honest. However, he still looked at Yizan stubbornly. "I won't kiss you." On the other hand, Yizan slapped his mouth and slapped his mouth, and then, "I'll give you a talisman too." Following Chi-Chi's naive words, Yizan was almost drunk, smiled stupidly, "Buy one get one free." When Yi-580 Zan was laughing stupidly, Yizan felt that the shadow clone he kept in Sun Wukong had been blown up. This time, Yizan was really stunned. Although it is said that Yizan has divided too many shadow clones, There is no doubt that Yizan's shadow clone is also very powerful because of Yizan's own strength. And now his shadow clone has been destroyed. It's getting more and more interesting. Should I say, is it really a Super Saiyan? Yizan's mouth cracked into a smile. Following Yizan's words, Yizan rubbed the heads of Chi-Chi and Buma, and the figures disappeared in a flash, coming directly to the Monkey King who had transformed into an orangutan. The Monkey King, who turned into a giant orangutan, lost his mind and didn't know anyone. A pair of red Yuhi's eyes flashed with a violent look. Like a king of destruction, he was destroying the surrounding at will, and he rushed up when he saw Yizan. On the other hand, Yizan floated in front of Sun Wukong, waved at Sun Wukong, and a trace of fighting spirit emerged from his body. Give me face and become a fly. A golden stance shrouded Sun Wukong, but it shattered and recondensed into a Yuhi color in an instant. Chapter 15_Super Saiyan is getting stronger. Yizan looked at Sun Wukong in the Yuhi color force field, and the fighting spirit emerged from his body. Coming to the super high martial plane of Chihuahai, how can you not fight against the Saiyans? Although the current Monkey King is only the transformation of the lowest level Super Saiyans, he already has some strength after all. Monkey King, who turned into an orangutan, can actually destroy his shadow clone, and finally he has the strength to fight a little bit. Roar! Sun Wukong, who transformed into a giant orangutan, roared. His right fist smashed towards Yizan as quickly as a steel cannon, and the swift force made the surrounding air a little messy. Although it is said that Sun Wukong has lost his mind, but after all, he is a Super Saiyan known as the Cosmic Fighting Race. The blood of the battle is still flowing in his body, and the battle is extremely crazy. Yizan directly dodged Sun Wukong's attack, and did not directly take the punch. He avoided the past for the time being, and wanted to test the speed of Sun Wukong. After Yizan dodged Sun Wukong's attack, he flashed again and appeared directly behind Sun Wukong. I don't know how the defense is going. Yizan raised his right fist, and a purple-black domineering instantly attached. Armed, domineering. Powerful domineering, condensed in an instant, a dark and bright light, it looks like it is extremely tough as a metallic luster. Yizan looked at the Monkey King incarnated as a gorilla, closed his fist, punched. Boom! The fierce attack made the air ripple like seawater, and the heavy attack smashed directly into Sun Wukong's back. Boom! The harsh roar sounded like a bomb exploded on Sun Wukong's back. Even though Sun Wukong's back was as strong as steel, it was still dented into a small pit by Yizan's terrifying punch, and his huge body staggered forward. After a few steps, he almost fell to the ground. Yizan's power was so powerful. All this was seen by Bulma and Kiki, who were watching the battle from a tree in the distance. Heroes are sad for Beauty Pass, and beauties are also sad for Hero Pass. After the two girls saw Yizan's strength, the love in their eyes almost overflowed. That's awesome, come on. Small stars twinkled in the eyes of the two women, so said. Compared with the joy of the two women, Sun Wukong, who was attacked by Yizan, did not seem so comfortable. Roar! Sun Wukong, who was already extremely angry, became even more annoyed after being attacked by Yizan, raised his head, and yelled directly at Yizan. The fierce voice made Yizan cover his ears. Looking at Sun Wukong's cracked mouth, Yizan gave a white look. I'm afraid others won't know that your Kiba teeth are good. Yizan's contemptuous eyes greatly stimulated Sun Wukong. The greatly stimulated Sun Wukong rushed towards Yizan desperately, and with a kick, he swept directly towards Yizan. Boom! The powerful kick directly caused the surrounding trees and rocks to fly in all directions, and the power can be said to be extremely huge. However, this is of no use. What about hitting the air? I'm here. Yizan twisted his waist magically at Sun Wukong in midair, and the mocking expression made Sun Wukong extremely unhappy. After Yizan saw Sun Wukong's expression, the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. Be angry, I want to see how powerful the bloodline of this so-called Super Saiyan can be. Yizan thought so. With Yizan's mockery, Sun Wukong attacked Yizan again. It's good. Yizan was not afraid of Sun Wukong's attack. He snorted lowly, jumped up, and then kicked a kick, and a blue linear light flew out. Bang! A violent muffled sound exploded directly from the place where the two intersected, and a powerful shock wave shook Wukong's huge figure back. However, even so, Yizan's attack still didn't really hurt Sun Wukong. It's really rough-skinned and thick-skinned. Yizan looked at Sun Wukong and said with emotion. Sun Wukong was bombarded by Yizan and stepped back several steps in a row. With his huge body, every time he stepped on the ground, a huge footprint would burst out, and the ground trembled a little. After the body stopped, Sun Wukong let out a violent roar again, as if he wanted to spread the pent-up anger in his heart through this roar. Is this all right? Yizan's expression became a little serious. If he continued to fight, to be honest, Yizan would really enter a state of battle. In that state, Yizan was very powerful and it was difficult to keep his hands. That is to say, once there is a move that endangers Sun Wukong's life, Yizan may not be able to stop. And Sun Wukong is not an enemy, so this is a bit too much. Why don't you pull out your tail? Yizan hesitated. On the one hand, it is the fighting intent that is constantly boiling in the heart, and on the other hand, it is the innocent eyes of Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong didn't know Yizan's hesitation. Roar! Sun Wukong kept beating his chest with his fists, making that powerful body even more brave, and Kiba's pointed mouth also became hideous. As if there was no pain, he attacked Yizan again. Come! Looking at Wukong, who was almost crazy, Yizan took a deep breath. It seems that he still can't help the blood of fighting. Yizan narrowed his eyes slightly, and when he opened it again, countless blue chakras appeared on his body rapidly. Yizan felt his strength, and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and the powerful chakra burst out instantly. Susanoo, quote. Yizan gave a low voice, and the chakra in his body, like the sea water gushing out, radiated from the body to the surrounding, very spectacular and beautiful. The chakra that spewed out quickly tangled in the air like a flaming blue flame, condensing rapidly. In the blink of an eye, the scene of the extremely beautiful chakra eruption was over, and replaced by a huge figure with Yizan at the center. It was Susanoo. The huge Susanoo, at the moment of condensed, seemed to be connected to the sky, terrifying and majestic. Compared with the body of Sun Wukong's orangutan, Yizan's Susanoo appeared to be more domineering. Chapter 16 Beat Up Orangutan. A huge blue figure condensed around Yizan's body, like a demon from hell, exuding terrifying power, which is one of the top abilities in the Hokage world, Susanoo. And all of this made Bulma, who was on the big tree in the distance, widen his eyes in fright, and his mind went blank. Bulma had never seen such a terrible thing before, Yizan with such a huge body, and the transformed orangutan the Sun Wukong. Is this really the planet that I am familiar with? Bulma felt that her worldview was rapidly collapsing. Roar! At this time, Wukong, who had transformed into a giant orangutan, was still mad at the side, smashing and discarding those big trees and stones. The feeling of destroying the king's possession is really no one else. After Sun Wukong saw Yizan's Susanoo, he naturally wouldn't let go of such a big goal. He saw Sun Wukong beat his heart and rushed over here quickly, raising his huge fist and smashing it hard. Hee hee. Susanoo cracked a smile, and when he came to the Dragon Ball world, Yizan himself took a lot of risks. There are too many perverts here. To be honest, with his own 6 paths strength, in the Dragon Ball world is really not enough to watch, not to mention the late stage, even in the midterm, the strength of my 6 paths can't support it. Those who are leisurely in the pirate world are about to forget what it feels like to fight. Yizan looked at Sun Wukong, who was rushing towards him, and said this. The two tall figures can be clearly seen from a distance. The two huge monsters fought together, fierce fists, sturdy collisions, and the most overbearing confrontation was like a prehistoric beast. Boom! A powerful shock wave burst out quickly from where Yizan and Sun Wukong met, like a hurricane, rushing out to both sides. The trees in the forest were also uprooted by this shock, and flew backwards. The concrete and the ground kept shaking. However, even so, everyone still saw that Sun Wukong, the Super Saiyan who turned into a giant orangutan, was not the opponent of Yizan's Susanoo. Dong dong. Sun Wukong's huge body retreated one after another, stepped out of a deep pit with one step, and finally fell to the ground, shaking the ground for a while. Roar. Sun Wukong, who fell to the ground, roared angrily and wanted to get up from the ground again, but the fierce battle was still very exhausting for Sun Wukong. After all, even the cosmic fighting nation has not yet grown up, and Sun Wukong is still a young man. Just a child, such a high-intensity battle makes Sun Wukong unable to raise any strength for a while. Is it dead? Yizan sensed that Sun Wukong's breath was slowly falling, and was not ready to continue. After all, he had already used Susanoo's killer move, and if he continued, he really might not be able to stop. Following Yizan's thoughts, the huge Susanoo quickly dissipated, and Yizan rushed out of the dissipated Susanoo and quickly jumped in front of Wukong. A sharp light flashed in his hand, with a burst of light. The powerful sound of breaking the wind slashed fiercely towards Sun Wukong's long tail. Om! With the sound of a sharp blade breaking through the sky, a silver-white brilliance ran directly to Wukong's long tail, and a neat slash was not something that Sun Wukong, who was almost exhausted, could react to, like a knife cutting a radish. As simple as that, Yizan cut off Sun Wukong's tail with ease. Sun Wukong, who lost his tail, began to become manic, but just for a moment, the huge orangutan body of Sun Wukong began to retract quickly, and within a moment, he returned to the appearance of the little monkey before. At the same time, a skill book also flew in front of Yizan. Martial Arts B White, 5 ingots. Well, nothing useful. Yizan exhaled slowly, suppressed the boiling fighting spirit in his heart, and returned to calm again. At this time, Sun Wukong had fainted, and the hostility in his body had disappeared. However, after the battle with Yizan, it was estimated that he would need to rest for a while to recover. Ignoring the fainted Sun Wukong, Yizan jumped a few times, and came to Bulma and Chi-Chi. Just seeing Yizan's powerful strength, Bulma was stunned. Is this Yizan? Is that gangster who has been laughing and laughing all the time and still very horny? To have such power beyond common sense. Hey, Bulma, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? Yizan waved in front of Bulma and greeted her. Bulma was still in a daze just now, and when he heard Yizan calling him, he quickly recovered, shook his head, and said, "It's okay, I'm okay, haha. Let's go over, the little monkey is all right," Yizan said, pointing to the previous battlefield. Well, Bulma nodded, and just as he was about to take a step, he found that he was so shocked by the previous battle that his whole body became weak. As soon as he walked, his feet instantly softened. Ah! Bulma exclaimed and closed his eyes nervously, but the pain of falling did not come, but a wide heart instead. Forget it, let me hold you. Yizan smiled slightly, a princess hugged Bulma, then squatted down to the envious Chi-Chi and said, "Come on, I'll carry you." Chi-Chi's face brightened, and she jumped to Yizan's back. I didn't expect that this guy has a gentle side. Bulma's face turned a little yuhi, feeling Yizan's heartbeat, his face shy. Hee. Yizan grinned, not knowing if it was intentional or not. The hand that hugged Bulma happened to be on Bulma's soft ass, squeezed it a few times, and then quickly moved towards where Sun Wukong is. Ah! When Yizan touched his ass, Bulma screamed nervously, but then he didn't react too radically, just kept twisting in Yizan's arms, dodging Yizan's hand. Yizan naturally would not miss this opportunity. During the continuous bounce, his claws kept stroking on Bulma's body, and Chi-Chi was sticking tightly to his back behind him. That kind of feeling made Yizan feel refreshed. When he landed on the ground, Bulma shuddered and slapped Yizan on the head. "You bastard, rascal." Yizan touched his forehead and looked at Boomer, so that he was not used to your stinky problem. "If you don't let me touch it, then I'll touch Chi-Chi." Yizan looked at Chi-Chi and said, "Be good, Chi-Chi, come here." Chi-Chi Shai Yuhi came to Yizan's side. Looking at Chi-Chi and Yizan's actions, Buma's face was resolute. He was softened. No, I'm just joking with you. Boma hurriedly relented and came to Yizan's side. Chapter 17_Toilet Incident. At night, Yizan looked at the sky with a dazed expression. Why are you bothering yourself? Of Yizan's domineering, reinvigorating husband gang, was that Yi Xuanhua took several times the time to comfort Bulma in his arms softly before letting the aggrieved Bulma fall asleep. Because of his previous behavior of reinvigorating Fu gang, Bulma was afraid that Yizan really didn't like him, so Bulma's little head melon seeds were thinking all kinds of nonsense, and Yizan had no choice but to comfort him softly. It's true that the aggrieved look on this little lowly's face is too pitiful and loving, and after the previous incident has been reacted to by himself, he is indeed a little embarrassed that he is being honest with a little lowly. I haven't fought for too long, and I can't control my emotions all of a sudden. Yizan shook his head slightly in his heart, and looked at Bulma in his arms with a loving expression on his face. Bulma twisted her body slightly, and when Yizan became more careful and worried that Bulma woke up, Bulma opened her eyes slowly. Stunned for a moment, Bulma came out of Yizan's arms with a shy face, and ran away from Yizan without waiting for Yizan to say anything. Duent follow me. Bulma's words came from far away. Huh, Yizan blinked his eyes with a confused expression, not knowing what the trouble was. Boomer, who left, glanced at the dark corners around him. It's so embarrassing. After searching for a while, Boomer came across a pretty good corner. He glanced around like a thief, then took off his pants shyly and squatted down slowly. However, Boomer didn't see it. A tiger was lying quietly behind him, his eyes flickering with a faint cold light. Whoa, whoa, whoa. A faint sound of running water caused Yizan, who was puzzled, to widen his eyes. This is... Hee, go to the toilet. A strange smile cracked at the corner of Yizan's mouth. Because of Bulma's sadness before, the capsule house was not arranged. That is to say, Bulma is now in the barren mountains. Ho ha ho ha ho. Yizan's eyes flickered with wolf light. Am I going to have a look, or to have a look, or to have a look? Yizan gave himself 3 choices, and finally said very seriously that he still wanted to see it. And when Yizan was going to take a look. Roar. Behind Bulma, there was a roar, and suddenly a fierce tiger, 3 or 4 meters high, roared behind Bulma. When such a big tiger appeared, he screamed in fright, Yizan, come and save me, you bastard, woo-woo. After all, it's a girl. It's the first time I saw this kind of Yamanaka beast up close. Yizan frowned slightly. It seems that I really need to take the protective measures of Bulma and Kiki in place. Although tigers are rubbish, they can endanger the lives of the 2 girls. Yizan's thoughts were fleeting, and the figure had already come to Bulma's side. Roar. Seeing Yizan, the tiger didn't feel how powerful Yizan was, and jumped in front of Yizan in 3 and 2 steps, raised its sharp claws, and slapped the 2 of them. Ah! The terrified Boomer closed his eyes nervously, waiting for the pain to come. Don't worry about the little sick cat. Look, it's scaring my Boomer. In fear, Yizan's uninhibited voice reached Bulma's ears. Then, Bulma dared to slowly open his eyes. But at this sight, Bulma's eyes widened. Although he had long known that Yizan was very powerful, when he saw it again, Bulma still felt that Yizan was so powerful. I saw Yizan put a finger on the tiger's forehead easily, but just like that, the hideous tiger couldn't move forward at all. A gust of wind blew, and the picture seemed to freeze. Yizan's figure just stayed in Bulma's heart, like a hero, full of domineering tenderness. Seeing Yizan appearing at this time, Bulma felt that she was about to faint, and that intense emotion reverberated and brewed in Bulma's heart. If you're 1 step later, I'll be eaten by that guy. Yizan turned his head lightly, showing an expression that he thought he was handsome, looked at Boomer and said, Don't be afraid, you will be fine with me. However, Bulma found that Yizan's eyes were fixed on his body. Buma felt a little cold under him, but as Yizan looked, he saw his smooth body, because he was interrupted by a tiger just now, so he didn't have time to put on his pants. Boom. Buma was shocked and hit Yizan directly. Rogue, don't watch. Yizan expressed that he was very innocent and waved his hand. If you are like this, I don't think it's better than a beast. I ignore you. Bulma got up and wanted to leave, but... Ah! Buma exclaimed and squatted down and covered her feet, her eyes filled with tears. It hurts. But in the previous crisis, he accidentally stabbed his foot. Then, let me take a look for you. Yizan raised his eyebrows, and a wicked smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He glanced at Bulma's feet and said so. Well, after all, Boomer is not wearing pants. No. Buma quickly shook his head, threw the capsule in his hand to the open space in front, and a small villa appeared immediately. I'll go first, you're not allowed to follow. Well. Yizan agreed very neatly. As for whether his behavior is as neat as his words, this is up for debate. This guy, Yizan, I really don't know why there are so many dirty thoughts. Buma is satisfied with Yizan, but he is not satisfied with Yizan's lust. Well, now Buma is still a little lowly, and he has not tasted the meat. Taste, I don't like the point of lust. If I taste the taste of meat, it is estimated that it will be another reaction. Yizan watched Bulma walk towards the capsule house with difficulty. Yizan, who was about to admire Bulma's body, also gave up his thoughts and shook his head slightly. I'll help you. The helpless Yizan ignored Bulma's resistance and entered the capsule villa with Bulma in his arms. At the same time, he also carried into the room the poor Kiki, who had been trapped outside by Boomer and could only sleep outside. As for Sun Wukong, Yizan thought about it for a while, and it turned out to be a merciful person who put Sun Wukong on the sofa. For the sake of you fighting with me once, let you sleep on the sofa once. Chapter 18_touch Bulma's feet. After Yizan finished this, he came to Bulma's side. At this time, Bulma was dressed neatly. Yizan watched Bulma rubbing his ankle, and said softly, I will know some medical methods, let me take a look. Saying that, Yizan was about to take off Bulma's shoes, but Bulma looked at Yizan cautiously and said, I don't need your treatment, don't treat me, my clothes are gone, you go and help, here comes my bandages and sprains and I can handle it myself. Alas! Yizan shook his head and sighed, be kind as a donkey liver and lungs. Your sprained foot, if you don't need my treatment, it will take at least a week to heal. I have a special method that will make you recover immediately. After seeing Yizan's miraculous means, he believed in Yizan's immediate reply. Compared to being looked at by Yizan, Buma didn't want her feet, it would take a week to heal. After hesitating for a while, Buma looked at Yizan and said, really? You didn't lie to me. Okay, stop being petty. Yizan said helplessly, grabbing Buma's little feet. Victory gesture against himself in his heart. Yizan touched Boma Ruru's feet, on the surface very serious and serious. Gently rubbing and touching slowly, I touched Buma's feet from top to bottom. Boma's face was a little shy. Yuhi, looking at Yizan's serious appearance, how awkward, looked at Yizan suspiciously. Are you really helping me with treatment? Absolutely, Yizan said seriously, looking at Buma seriously. Boma stared at Yizan carefully, trying to find a clue on Yizan's face, but after looking for a long time, he still couldn't see anything. Yizan looked sincere, but the movements of his hands were even more reckless. Yizan's rubbing made the little loli, who was originally unmanned, suddenly became a little short of breath. His expression became a little weird, and Yuhi dizzy appeared on his cheeks. Finally. What are you doing? Do you need this to treat a sprain? Buma couldn't help saying. Staring at Yizan's hand had unknowingly followed Boma's leg and touched it. Yizan said with a serious face, sprains need to activate blood and remove blood stasis. At this time, I'm helping you open up the blood vessels, so that the blood accumulated in your sprain can be dissipated faster. The devil will believe you. You can heal my sprain within 3 seconds. Otherwise, I'll come by myself. Buma is not an idiot. How could he be fooled by Yizan's seriousness again after being fooled once? The art of healing. Within a second, green rays of light appeared in Yizan's hands in a flash. Bulma blinked and looked at his feet. It seems, it doesn't hurt anymore. Buma twisted her little foot with a look of excitement. Then, as if remembering something, he looked at Yizan and said, "Sure enough, your previous actions were taking advantage of me." Absolutely not. Yizan raised 3 fingers and swore to the sky, with a serious look on his face. Bulma glanced at Yizan with deep suspicion, but did not continue to investigate further, although Yizan was suspected of taking advantage, but after all, it was for himself, and he really cured himself. Of course, the most important point is also cloth. One thing Ma didn't want to admit was that it seemed like a good feeling to be manipulated by Yizan. This guy was really comfortable when he rubbed my feet just now. Buma couldn't help thinking, but quickly retorted, "What's wrong with me, are you ashamed?" After all these things, Bulma, who had gotten up hazy, drowsiness struck again, and yawned greatly. Seeing this, Yizan said to Bulma, "It's getting late, you should rest early." "Yeah." Boomer nodded and went back to his room to rest. "Ah, Boomer, aren't you taking a bath?" Yizan asked Bulma blankly. "With you here, don't wash." Bulma's words, "Let Yi Xuanyan Kiba, what do you mean I'm not washing? You little dirty cat." However, what responded to Yizan was a long silence. Yizan, who was feeling bored, could only shake his head sadly. After scanning, he walked towards Chi-Chi's room lightly. The next morning, as soon as Yizan woke up, he felt the incomparably soft body in his arms. Yizan lowered his head, just in time to see the shy and cowardly Chi-Chi in his arms. "Yo, Chi-Chi, good morning," Yizan said very naturally. After hearing Yizan's words, Chi-Chi's soft body suddenly stiffened, and the tension in her heart was clearly visible. Yizan comforted Chi-Chi for a while and came out of Chi-Chi's room. In the living room, Sun Wukong, who had rested for a night, also recovered. He sat on the sofa, rubbed his sullen eyes, and asked Yizan, "Where is this place?" "Ah, it's you, brother Yizan, good morning." Quote. Seeing that Sun Wukong was almost recovering, Yizan nodded and entered the kitchen. "Go wash up and prepare to eat." As for what happened last night, Yizan didn't mention that much. Anyway, it was Sun Wukong's unconscious actions, but it was the blood of the Saiyans. Yizan was going to find a time to figure it out. Face fruit can only show skills, but it's really troublesome if you can't show your bloodline. Can you only improve your bloodline to the point where you can transform into a Super Saiyan? Yizan thought so. As soon as he heard that there was breakfast, the foodie Sun Wukong jumped over happily, patted his belly, and hurriedly said, "It's just right, my stomach is also a little hungry." Over after 2.5, he almost fell, and felt that something was wrong behind him. When he looked behind him, he found that his tail had disappeared, and he screamed in fright, "Ah, brother Yizan. My tail is missing." From childhood to adulthood, there was a tail behind Sun Wukong, but now it suddenly disappeared, which of course made Sun Wukong very surprised and worried. Yizan didn't expect to explain so much to Sun Wukong, and said directly, "Something happened last night, if you want to know, you can just ask Buma later. Hey, do you still want to have breakfast? If you want, hurry up. To wash up." Gollum. In the end, as a foodie, Sun Wukong still felt more uncomfortable when he was hungry. He quickly agreed and ran to wash up. As for the tail, who cares so much? Chapter 19 Visiting Boomer's house. After breakfast was ready, Bulma and Kiki walked out of the room. "Bulma, Chi-Chi, early, come for breakfast." Yizan greeted the two women, but received no response from the other party. No way, Yizan's behavior last night really made the two girls too shy, and with the presence of Sun Wukong, the two girls didn't have much thought. Both Bulma and Kiki had a profound impact on the terrifying destructive power of Sun Wukong last night, and they can be said to have a fresh memory. Wukong, who didn't know what to do, scratched his head strangely when he saw the appearance of the two women, and said, "Why do Kiki and Bulma seem to be afraid of me?" Yizan waved his hand and said, "It's okay." Yizan said something and said to Bulma and Chi-Chi, "Go wash up and have breakfast." Sun Wukong, who had a gluten in his head, didn't pay too much attention to the previous things when he saw the food. After seeing that Kiki and Bulma came from, he ate it up. Halfway through the meal, Bulma suddenly said, "This trip to Dragon Ball is over, I want to go back." "Go back. Meet your parents," Yizan said while looking at Boomer. "Meeting my parents," Bulma said to Yizan involuntarily. Yizan looked at Boomer in his 30s. "I didn't say I would meet my parents, hee, Boomer, sicken. Just say it if you want to be my daughter-in-law. I'm not a difficult person to talk to, I will definitely ask yours." "Don't make it sound like no one wants me," Boomer yelled at Yizan. Yizan changed the subject lightly and said to Sun Wukong, "Little monkey, how about you?" While eating, Wukong muttered, "I lost my grandfather's belongings, I want to find them back." Yizan waved his hand. Every time Dragon Ball makes a wish, it takes a while to restore the appearance of Dragon Ball itself. Before that, Dragon Ball will always be an ordinary stone. Yizan said, flipped his hand, and took out 2 round stones. When the Dragon Balls scattered, I only recovered the 2 closer ones, but I don't know how many stars they are. Little monkey, you hold it first, wait until the Dragon Ball itself is restored, and then use the Dragon Ball radar to locate the Dragon Ball of your grandfather. Really? Sun Wukong took the stone that Yizan gave him in surprise. Then Wukong, what are you going to do next? Bulma asked, looking at Sun Wukong. Go to practice. When my grandfather died, he told me that he wanted me to go to the outside world to see. I was going to find my grandfather's teacher and continue to practice. I wanted to become stronger, said Sun Wukong. The biggest reason why Yizan came to the Dragon Ball, the High Martial Plane, was to become stronger. The idea of Sun Wukong just made Yizan extremely satisfied. Putting a piece of fried egg in his mouth, Yizan casually gave Sun Wukong the map of the residence of the immortal turtle, then he ignored Sun Wukong, and turned to Bulma with a smile. I'll take Chi-Chi to us. Let's go to my mother's house. Go home with me. Stop joking, I'm a good girl, and I've never brought a boy back. Also, it's my parents and my mother, not my parents and my mother. Bulma said again. Yizan smiled lightly and said, don't get excited, didn't you come out to find Prince Charming? I have one ready-made for you to take home, isn't it okay? What kind of Prince Charming are you? Bulma turned over a Byakugan and said to Yizan. However, the noise turned into a noise. In the end, Yizan got into Bulma's car and brought Chi-Chi with him. The 3 of them rushed towards the metropolis together. Looking at the city that was getting closer and closer, Yizan also felt an inexplicable excitement in his heart. It seemed that he had not seen such a modern metropolis for a long time. As soon as he arrived in the city, Bulma said happily, I'll go shopping for clothes and bags later. I haven't been back for a long time. I miss my parents so much. Yizan also leaned on the co-pilot's seat, raised his legs, and said, yeah, I have to go out and buy some gifts for my parents. Bulma, let's go together. Who wants to go with you? Bulma gave Yizan a look of disgust, and continued to concentrate on driving his car. On the contrary, it was Chi-Chi who came to such a big city for the first time. When she entered the street, she lay on the window and kept looking out. All kinds of novel things outside attracted Chi-Chi's attention. Chi-Chi is still just a child. There was a lot of traffic on the street, and countless beautiful girls came and went, walking around the roadside dressed in personalities. Yizan's eyes were quickly attracted to him. Although a little lowly like Boomer is very lovable, those mature and tasteful girls are more attractive. Seeing Yizan's sultry eyes, Boomer's originally coquettish mood suddenly became unhappy, and he stepped on the accelerator quickly, and the car rushed out quickly. Let you see beautiful women, Boomer snorted. The acceleration of the body made Yizan only miss the beauty in front of him, and he didn't even have the chance to take a second look. Boomer didn't know why she was so angry. Seeing this guy staring at other girls, she felt very unhappy. Soon, Bulma drove to his home. As the richest man in the world, Bulma's home has a luxurious manor with a radius of tens of kilometers. It is like a small city, with all kinds of 647 mechanical research equipment. You must know that Boomer's father, Dr. Brives, is one of the top inventors in the world. Many inventions have been put into use, so he has also gained unprecedented wealth. As the daughter of the richest man in the world, as soon as Bulma came home, 2 rows of servants greeted her outside. Bulma walked into the family castle proudly like a princess. However, he has been peeking at Yizan with the corner of his eye, hoping to see Yizan making a fool of himself. After all, he has made a lot of fools out of Yizan. After finally getting another chance, how can he not use it well? However, it was a pity for Bulma that Yizan did not respond much to these amazing wealth of his family. How does Bulma know that these amazing wealth are really nothing compared to what Yizan has experienced? Compared with the economic war that Yizan himself once manipulated, this scene is really nothing, and naturally it will not be disturbed by this battle. Frightened, he walked over easily, making Boomer, who wanted to watch Yizan make a fool of himself and show off his wealth, very frustrated. On the other hand, Chi-Chi, as if she had never seen anything, was very curious about everything. Soon, Dr. Brives and Boomer's mother came out together. Chapter-20 Son-in-law. Hello, this little brother, welcome to our house. Dr. Brives, wearing a pair of glasses and a white research uniform, shook hands with Yizan very enthusiastically. Dr. Brives is in the original Dragon Ball, and only occasionally comes out to play Chan Oil, and Yizan doesn't know much about him. Boomer's mother, Mrs. Brives, was very gentle and virtuous and said to Yizan, "Is that Boomer's little boyfriend?" Yizan looked at Mrs. Brives in a long blue dress, and couldn't help giving a big compliment to Mrs. Brives. Ignoring Bulma's warning eyes, he scratched his head. "Ah, my aunt discovered me, Bulma and I." Yizan's reluctance to speak made Mrs. Brives confirm her guess. And Bulma looked at Yizan's pretentious appearance, bit Kiba and gave a warning, and then said to his parents, "Don't listen to his nonsense, I have nothing to do with him." Both Dr. Brives and Mrs. Brives nodded perfunctorily, but everyone could see the disbelief in their expressions and voices. Mrs. Brives ignored Boomer's anger and said kindly to Yizan, "You guys are tired all the way back. Come, hurry to the restaurant, I'll ask someone to arrange lunch." Boomer's home is not small, and it took a long time to walk from the hall to the restaurant. Along the way, Mrs. Brives also pulled Yizan to ask various questions, as if to treat Yizan as a future son-in-law. Although Boomer is still young, Boomer's family is super rich after all, and Mrs. Brives naturally wants to help her choose a future husband. Like some other families, the daughter's marriage was decided before she was born. However, their husband and wife love their daughter, and they want to let her choose, but they have not decided on any marriage, and Yizan is the first boy that Boomer brings to his home. Well, yes, Yizan, who is not old, was taken by Boomer. His parents were treated as boys. If Yizan knew about this, he would probably smile bitterly, and he would be considered a success if he pretended to be young. However, Yizan doesn't have the heart to take this matter into consideration now. To be honest, although Yizan has many women around him, it is really the first time for a big girl to go to the sedan chair for her mother-in-law. While listening to Mrs. Brives' question, Yizan answered with a quick change of heart. After one battle, it was really more tiring than one battle. In the torment of Yizan and Bulma, everyone finally came to the restaurant. A round table more than 10 meters long was ready. There were more than a dozen senior chefs and maids waiting for Yizan and the others. Seeing this scene, Yizan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It's better to be rich. As long as you want to eat, just arrange it casually, and someone will prepare it right away, so you don't have to wait too long. Please, Yizan. Dr. Brives, who already knew Yizan's name, made a gesture of invitation to Yizan. Yizan smiled bitterly in his heart. I'll sit, I'll sit. Nonsense, I am pretending to be tender now, that is to say, Dr. Brives is an elder, so they naturally want them to sit first. After a series of meaningless humility, Dr. Brives' satisfaction with Yizan finally broke the table, and they all took their seats. There are still many kinds of ingredients in this world, and many of them are things that Yizan has never seen or eaten. The first time he tasted it, Yizan also felt very good. It was Bulma, who was used to eating these delicacies from the mountains and seas, and didn't think it was anything special. He just tasted a few bites at random and stopped eating. Before he knew it, Bulma's eyes were already on Yizan, who was eating. The corner of his mouth cracked into a silly smile. Yizan and Mrs. Brives saw all this clearly. This silly girl, Yizan secretly said. And Mrs. Brives looked at the doctor and nodded. Drip. While eating well, suddenly, Dr. Brives' watch flickered, and a Yuhi-colored light flashed on the watch, accompanied by an alarm sound. It's not good, Master Dean, the mechanical monster you studied ran out of Area A, and now it's going to rush to the street. A man's eager voice came from the inside of the watch. What? Hearing this, Dr. Brives' expression instantly became very ugly. He couldn't care about anything else. He quickly got up from his chair, and hurriedly said, I'm sorry, I can't accompany you anymore, I still have important things. Go first. Yizan could hear the words just now, and naturally knew that something was wrong, so he quickly stood up and said, if I can help, I will accompany you to take a look. Dr. Brives paused for a few seconds at the door and glanced at Yizan. Dad, let him go, he's strong. Boomer's words made Dr. Brives nodded. Okay, come and help me. From the very first time he saw Yizan, Dr. Brives knew that Yizan was not simple. Now, with Boomer's words, Dr. Brives was even more sure. He just took this opportunity to see what Yizan really had. The two quickened their pace and ran outside from the dining room, leaving only Kiki and Bulma and Mrs. Brives inside. When they came to the hall outside, dozens of heavily armed soldiers were already waiting there. They were all equipped with powerful weapons and equipment. A man in a white coat saw that Dr. Brives was coming, and hurried over. Dean, it's not good, the mechanical monster has already started destruction on the street, hurting many citizens and others. Buildings. Quote. Saying that, the man also took out a portable notebook and quickly opened it. What was displayed inside was an incomparably gigantic monster that was constantly causing damage in the center of the city. This is a huge robot that can walk upright, with two huge fists in front of the heart, freely moving and causing great damage to the buildings next to it. The body of dozens of meters high is a behemoth. Very conspicuous. Yizan vaguely remembered that there was indeed a robot runaway incident. I don't know if it was a mistake. Forget it, it doesn't matter. It's just a machine. The big deal is a Kaden fire style or Doden earth style in the past. When Yizan was thinking about this, the people in the urban area were so frightened that they ran around and shouted in terror. The entire urban area fell into panic. Moreover, most of the troops sent out were slapped by this monster, and even the helicopter had no choice but to get it.